This is way too loud for a mic. Let's fix this. So, hey everyone. Let me adjust my mic first. This is way too loud in my opinion. For this. Let's check this out, what exactly is going on. Okay. Okay. Bam. What story will I tell today? And let's see how my mic sounds like live on YouTube right now. Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're going to be looking at more XRP news this time because the news has been juicy. I will just fix my mic first and go from there. Once I fix that, I can focus because right now the mic is actually very, very loud from what I hear, or at least that's what the settings are telling me. So let's go and fix that first. Once we fix that, then we can focus on the other stuff. Maybe I can set it down here a bit. Yeah, I mean that would be better, wouldn't it? Even if it's worse a bit. So let's check XRP news. Let's check what we are seeing. Library of Wealth. So Raul. Yeah, so we have some very nice updates today. Hey Jay, my friend, it must be very late for you. It's actually at 2 a.m. but if I promised a 24/7 live stream, and if we're doing a 24/7 live stream, we're doing a 24/7 live stream. There's nothing I really can't do. So we can first check crypto Twitter. I'm just setting everything up. So seems like XRP prices are going up. So we are live now. My mic should be sounding okay. If not, I will fix it later or tomorrow. Again, welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream. Look at that. Let's take a look at Tom Lee. I love Tom Lee. Just to start. Yeah, so it does seem like Tom Lee is making waves and has actually explained why XRP has blown up. So we are going to be seeing another bull run, in my opinion, for XRP, which is the other big news. And smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. Really appreciate that, everyone. So yeah, let's check out Tom Lee.
Broke out to all-time highs.
So yeah, it is kind of predicted that XRP actually rallied that high. It's not just a random coincidence. It's something that's called, market cycles, and every 4 years we are seeing this in crypto. We are seeing cryptos rising to all-time high, and now it was XRP's time. There's a reason why XRP was now so big.
Is actually bullish. But the interesting thing is that crypto is still not that widely held.
The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework.
So yeah, XRP has purely grown now, from just basic regulation stuff, basic news, if that's what you want to call it. There hasn't even been XRP influencers. There hasn't been people talking about it. There's so much more potential as treasuries. That's another thing that we were promised. IPO, ETFs. This is just the start for XRP, in my opinion. Like, there's plenty of other news that we'll see.
For issuing crypto assets backed 1-for-1 with real US dollars.
I think the reality is that crypto regulation is vastly improved over what we saw for the last 8 years or 12 years.
Unleash the...
That's exactly what I was saying. Regulation is now becoming a part of crypto, and it's becoming like a big thing that you cannot forget about. It's not like if you want to launch your own exchange, you can do it without regulation. This will not be possible anymore.
Immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins.
Crypto regulations can pivot in either direction. The banking industry has not necessarily been that quick to recognize that an increasingly digital world means money is increasingly purely digital, and it's actually breaking barriers. 95% of Bitcoin's been mined, and only 95% of the traditional finance world doesn't own Bitcoin. So there's a real mismatch. And so I think Bitcoin continues to be the leading crypto asset to watch.
It's probably going to be XRP, because right now XRP institutions are still not in. It's mostly being bought by, as I said, the average Joe, the retail. Retail loves XRP right now. But the new institutions, once this Ethereum XRP treasury gets in and ETFs, that's when we're going to be seeing the big companies rising in and buying the whole supply. We have literally been waiting this for ages.
If someone says, well, what does that make it worth? Gold's 22 trillion network value, so Bitcoin should be worth $1 billion. And there's plenty of future.
And if Bitcoin is worth 22 million, you can bet that Ethereum is gonna be worth, probably 10,000. And XRP, it's the number 3rd coin. I checked the 2016 prices, and it was XRP 1 cent. So what's stopping it from XRP reaching $8, $7, $10 in the long run? Literally, it could become the next big Ethereum. It's basically set in stone. XRP, in my opinion, is gonna be like this big thing that you follow. You follow the news for Bitcoin every single day. You follow the news for Ethereum. You suddenly open your phone and Ethereum becomes XRP becomes the next big thing, like in all these news articles in mainstream media, because you cannot ignore the market cap. You cannot ignore people talking about it so much.
Businesses that can be built around Bitcoin because of its stability. Ethereum is a smart contract enabled platform, and so it is unique because you can actually store real things onto the blockchain, whether you use layer 1 or layer 2. And I think maybe and this is what stablecoins are showing, is that as we move into a world of like AI and we're trying to create, units of pricing and to simplify the movement of goods, and simple examples of like tokenizing things from the real world onto a blockchain, you couldn't.
So that's exactly what Ripple is doing right now with their Ledger device. They are actually going a step ahead and wanting to pay all the contracts without this huge finance fees. They want to make payment platforms simpler. They want to make everything more straightforward, because what's happening right now is if you pay someone's salary, of course you get cut. The payment might be delayed. It's not, you have to do everything manually. But when you can make a grant on the XRP blockchain, imagine people can just automatically receive their payments to their bank accounts. And that's what XRP is trying to do without these like 1 day to wait times and accountants to verify.
Do it really on Bitcoin, because that's not what Bitcoin's designed to do. So I think as you're thinking of Wall Street converging onto crypto, and then AI innovations taking place, and the idea of using even tokens or stable coins around that, well, then that's really when it comes to saying, well, Ethereum really is the largest smart contract platform in terms of network value, and that's what makes it attractive.
That's Ethereum right now. It's building, but the thing is, XRP is also catching up to this. So XRP is also building its own thing for a decentralized way to make transactions even faster than Ethereum. And I think here is where it makes a difference. Like Ethereum is gonna do its own things, and XRP is gonna do its own things. So yeah,
I generally agree with people who say crypto responds to global liquidity. And so if central banks are easing, then we should see it in crypto prices first. And that's why crypto actually is a leading indicator for the stock market. And the fact that Bitcoin broke out to all-time highs is actually bullish for the S&P. But the interesting thing is that crypto is still not that widely held. So I think that, Bitwise has points been mined, and only 95% of the traditional finance world doesn't own Bitcoin. So there's a real...
So exactly, there's a big market for all these big institutions to enter again. So there is a big chance right now that XRP goes up. And thank you everyone for smashing that like button. And we do have some more news on XRP, is it's actually becoming, the number one talk crypto on the crypto markets.
Mismatch. And so I think Bitcoin continues to be the leading crypto asset to watch. But to us, as risk appetite recovers, Ethereum and small caps are pretty highly correlated. And I think that that's why Ethereum, in percentage terms, has more upside for the next few years. Wall Street is converging onto crypto, and they're choosing to do a lot of this work.
A lot of these, like Ethereum is already pumping to 3,800. So they're going to decide to go for different prices. Basically, they're going to decide to go for different coins. And one of these is going to be XRP.
On Ethereum, because stable coins have completely changed Wall Street's mind about how useful crypto can be. As we've said, the stable coins have created the ChatGPT moment for crypto, because we're seeing consumers really use it in a viral way. Merchants are beginning to really love it, especially outside the US, and now banks are.
That's what I'm telling you. Like, stable coins are the future, and that's why XRP released basically their own stable coin on the ledger, because they want banks and every single big entity to use it for any payment processing, to give them the opportunity to basically go to Ripple, their own ledger, and start making money and doing transactions from there. Again, there's 300 trillion transactions, quadrillions, trillions of money floating around in banks, and Ripple sees a huge opportunity for more people to come in.
Realizing it's actually a decent business model. We just saw Citigroup even just say that they're looking at creating a stablecoin, even if it's just to manage deposit base, but still, it is really Wall Street converging onto crypto. And at the end of the day, a couple things are going to be important. Wall Street wants to find a chain that's operating compliantly in the US.
And that's what exactly XRP is doing. I think it's even beating Ethereum at this point, because they had meetings with Trump, they had meetings with the government, and they launched the ISO 20222, which is basically the ISO compliant. It's launched in the US. Again, it's a US based company, and this gives bonus points to anyone basically wanting to work with the US government. It's a pretty big bonus point if your company is in the US and not based in like Dubai or any other country, or in Europe, for example. It's just a clear victory, right, for them. And I think they were planning this 12 years ahead.
And they want to find a big one, and where there's already a lot of real world assets, tied up and on the layer one. And that's why Ethereum, we think, is going to become extremely relevant over the next decade. I think that's where, these treasury companies are playing a pretty important role, and they're earning money staking. And I think the reality is that if there is a rejuvenation of interest around any token or any token platform, it also rejuvenates people's creativity and interest in making it more usable. So to us, this ChatGPT moment, which is converging around Ethereum, I think is going to also help unleash a wave of innovation. It's no different than when ChatGPT first swept across Silicon Valley, and this is after everybody had invested.
This is literally the new wave of internet. That is the big thing.
Decades on.
So a lot of people will have like an exit plan where people will take profits at $5, $10, $15, $20. I just plan to not sell it for very long. I feel like, there is potential that it could go way up than people can imagine, but it's going to take like 20 years. Again, 20 years is a long time, but if you have like $1,000 now in XRP, it could potentially double or triple easily. It's already like tripled in 1 month. So what doesn't make sense that it wouldn't triple when it's working in the banks, for maybe, XRP for $1,000. People are saying that. Again, it's going to be very hard to reach that market cap, but it's definitely not impossible. So yeah, if you hold like 1 million, 2 million, I think a lot of whales will sell at $5, $10, or already are. But if you're holding like smaller amounts, you need bigger gains to basically make that money back.
But guess what? Now there's many venture-funded businesses around using AI and ChatGPT that are exploding and getting to $100 million run rate so quickly. Well, I think that's what's going to happen in crypto. I think this is a really big moment for the industry to realize that as Wall Street converges and they're bringing a lot of interest and bringing a lot of new users and a lot of new applications, that this could transform actually the importance of smart contracts and Ethereum. So I think Ethereum's sort of, dominance could actually grow dramatically.
The global embrace of Bitcoin is accelerating.
Yeah, so it seems like more and more institutions, just as I was saying the last 2 months, I was basically telling people that the dominance is going to go up. And we are going to be seeing more and more of rich people coming in, and literally billionaires are talking how this could affect crypto in a good way.
Nobody can really ever correctly predict how Washington, what path it chooses and what bills pass. But I think the reality is that crypto regulation is vastly improved over what we saw for the last 8 years and 12 years. And so I don't think anyone should be too discouraged by developments in Washington, but they should, of course, watch it closely. And then keep in mind that you can always have some things fixed through either reintroducing items or executive orders. So I wouldn't read too much into whatever happens out of Washington. I've been paying a lot of attention to earning. We're in the middle.
Again, yeah, we should just focus on making XRP go up than focusing on all this legal stuff, because it will pass eventually. Even if there's people fighting, it will pass, it won't pass. I fully think that at some point it's just gonna go, sky high. And we saw that, like, a lot of people were afraid that the regulation was called the Clarity Act would not pass. Well, it passed, immediately, from 8 people voting no to the next day people voting yes. So again, if you give it time, if you give it a time and place, it is going up. And that's the good news. It's just like we are going from 0 to 100.
1,000 before the end of the month for Ethereum, but that's not where it peaks. He just thinks that that's the first target. And then I think something, if Sean Farrell's math is correct, then I think 10 to 15,000 actually makes sense too.
By the end of the year?
It could be end of year, it could be sooner. I mean, it just really depends. But that wouldn't be the cap, but that just shows you that's really, a level above 5,000, it would be a decisive, all-time.
Again, so people were saying that XRP $5 will never happen, but yet we see time and time again it's being proven wrong.
Breakout for Ethereum. So I think that's a significant level to watch as well. At the core is our belief that Ethereum is dramatically undervalued.
So again, Ethereum is really not working with the US government. It has great potential, but this is why the US government might go for XRP first on these blockchain technologies that the government wants to work with.
Closed on July 9th or July 8th. And then 3 days later, Bitmine increased the treasury holdings by an additional 250 million. So in just 3 days, doubled the amount of treasury holdings, and that was as of Friday last week. So you can see that. Again,
why are these big, whales purchasing? Because if even one big payment platform comes up and works with XRP, if Elon works, even accepting XRP as a payment, even on X, that will literally skyrocket at 20% overnight. Now, if you have, 5 partnerships like that, that is 5 times the effort. Again, it's not easy to get these type of partnerships because everybody wants to be working with them. Everybody wants to give them technology. But when there's enough demand, such as XRP being the biggest crypto and these platforms being crypto friendly, imagine the potential that cryptos have here. It is sky high. It is infinite.
That is using.
You have only 5% of the big companies of all the money in circulation using crypto. Again, 5%. Where's the 95%? They still might use it. And that's where the big money comes in.
Capital markets to increase your ETH holdings per share. The ETH is actually being held today in Treasury. But whether or not it's going to be done through direct staking or using liquid tokens, that hasn't been disclosed yet. So I would say you should just stay tuned.
Tom Lee challenges the conventional
So yeah, I think it's pretty clear here that XRP is going to go up even more. That this is just the start for, this new wave of money. That's what I call it, new wave of money, because that's what it is. It is literally more money coming in than we ever saw. And we have been waiting this for such a long time. We wanted to see this, happen for XRP, and it's finally here. And people, who sold early, I saw people buying it. The thing is, it's really happening now. And even like Bitcoin dipping a bit or XRP dipping a bit doesn't scare me. It's because Bitcoin right now is losing its track against, Ethereum, against XRP. It's time for the big boys, to enter also the attention. XRP got bought out by a lot of people. It's because maybe, these companies are selling their Bitcoin to buy XRP, Ethereum, and all these other coins. So yeah, there is actually more updates as well on this one. So we saw this. Billionaires are sending huge signals to Bitcoin and crypto holders. Max Kaiser
is going to jump.
Market volatility.
So literally billionaires giving us advice for free. People who have $10 billion, $1 billion, who have 200 million, 300 million, are just passionate to talk about it. And again, with XRP holders, a lot of people don't have this opportunity to actually check who they are speaking with. So if you wanted to sit down with Warren Buffett, someone would call you crazy, right? But in crypto, you can literally watch a podcast that has maybe 10,000 views, or this video, which has maybe like 200 views, 300 views. And then you see that all these big influential players are going to be giving you advice for free.
Billionaires are sending huge signals to Bitcoin and crypto holders, and you need to get in immediately. He recently shared his take on the current economic uncertainty. With tariffs and recession fears creating market volatility, Kaiser suggests that a major market rally is on the horizon.
That's exactly it. We saw, if you can see XRP doubling, what's stopping you from seeing it triple or go 4x when the full, we're like a car, and now the car is going only 20% of the speed. What if it goes 100? What if it goes 80%? It's literally hasn't fully started yet.
Bitcoin has been trading more like a risk asset lately, meaning if the market recovers, Bitcoin is expected to surge alongside it. But the uncertainty is key here. If the market remains stuck in limbo, Bitcoin could face short-term pressure. This means that some investors are not buying Bitcoin because they believe in it, but are using the ETFs to short BTC, betting that the price will go down. Kaiser says the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF was a massive error on the part of the SEC.
Again, BlackRock buying this, they already bought Ethereum. What's stopping them from opening XRP ETF? BlackRock is the next big player on XRP, in my opinion. They are already have a lot of knowledge on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but this is the next big thing. Like, they have eyes on the prize. They love money, and they're going to go even harder on it.
He says we're headed for an unprecedented event as the printing of fiat money continues to drive entire economies off the cliff.
Nobody
Kaiser
needs
maintains
fiat
a
money
bullish
anymore.
prediction for Bitcoin, as the current price sits just over 108,500. Kaiser discusses the collapse of the fiat money system around the world and points out the dollar is falling faster than we've ever seen. This is where he says Bitcoin will actually show itself to be a true form of money without influence from inflation or government's continuous printing. Let's get right into the latest interview with Max Kaiser as he gives us his Bitcoin price prediction and why BlackRock's game plan will actually blindside the crypto market.
To protect.
This is literally, info for free that we got that BlackRock doesn't want, us to know or doesn't tell us. But here we are seeing that BlackRock is also going big on other altcoins, not just Bitcoin. And that's why Bitcoin is also falling a bit right now. Literally, people are going for Ethereum. They're going for XRP. They just don't let you know.
Yourself against this inflation, you need to put your investable assets into something that's going to protect your wealth in an inflationary environment. So you've got two choices, gold or Bitcoin. And clearly Bitcoin is winning that race. Capital is flowing into Bitcoin, not gold. Gold is acting atrociously, and for a lot of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And investors are deciding to go into Bitcoin as a store of value. They're
literally holding XRP because it gives way more profit.
It's the only answer to escape this money printing insanity. The way to look at this again is to get out of it.
Again, why are the rents so high? Is because people have been printing. Well, the government has been printing money, so a lot more money is useless. And basically, the rent prices are doubled, the food is doubled. When you have $1, 5 years ago, it's worth way less. But if you had one XRP 5 years ago, it's now worth way more. So the math really does add out. It really evens out.
U.S.-centric point of view, and to look more globally and understand how game theory works. At some point, it's going to kick in with a G20 country, and then suddenly that G20 country is going to be doing quite well because they're on a Bitcoin standard, and that will attract other competitors and other countries to come to say, you know what, we got to get in the game here. We can't. Let me put it to you this way. The idea of banning Bitcoin is fallacious. It's not, the risk is not, or the outcome is not that countries are going to ban Bitcoin. The outcome is that countries like the US are going to start aggressively hoarding and mining Bitcoin. The US at some point figure out that, you know what, we have 8,000 tons of gold and we have a lot of treasury bills, but we don't really have any Bitcoin. And to stay competitive in the 21st century, we need to build our Bitcoin.
Again, all these governments have not still been buying crypto, which is a very big amount. What we see now is basically US trying to racetrack to be the first one to own altcoins. They already confirmed about owning XRP, but this takes time. This takes work. And we are seeing, BlackRock, basically front running and trying to buy a very big supply before anyone else, before other countries come in, before other people, millions of people say, hey, maybe the governments are buying. Maybe I should be buying as well. Maybe I should be bullish. Maybe crypto is not such a bad thing, because you got to believe when the government says something is good, people will end up buying tons of it.
Bitcoin position. We need to start hoarding Bitcoin. We need to start mining Bitcoin. And then America will be on the path.
That's why Trump has so many crypto companies right now. That's why he's secretly, they have XRP.
To recovery. And until that moment, it's going to be on the path of collapse. And that's what we can look forward to. That's where this is all going. Global Bitcoin war. It'll be a mad scramble by countries to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible in the same way that they would want to accumulate land or oil or gold, right? Countries.
The supply is finite. Like all of this stuff, it's not an infinite supply. So, when you are very rich, you're going to be hoarding these, you're going to be taking like 20 of these. And that's why people are buying thousands and thousands of XRP. BlackRock is buying it all.
Like to accumulate large quantities of things that give them power and wealth. And they're going to see that Bitcoin is the ultimate power and the ultimate wealth. And that is going to drive this global scramble by the superpowers to own as much Bitcoin as possible. Mm-hmm. That increases the hash rate, it increases the security, it increases the price. That's how you get to $1 million of Bitcoin, 2 million.
Everybody is greedy right now for Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, you name it. But look at which one rose to the top. Yes, it was Bitcoin, but which one was the second one out of 100 cryptos? It was XRP. XRP was the one that really blew out all of the everything out of the water since last year, since Trump's inauguration. Why? Literally after Trump got voted, XRP went up so much. It's because Trump believes in XRP. That's the truth. I see it.
Dollars of Bitcoin. There is no top for Bitcoin because there is no bottom for fiat money. If you're going to say, you know what I mean? If you're going to price Bitcoin in fiat money, the price is infinity because all fiat money goes to zero. If you price it in ounces of gold, that would be a different way to price it. I think a more valid way to price it. I'm not sure exactly what the exchange rate is, ounces of gold to Bitcoin, 40, and then whatever that is, multiply times 100, and that's where we're going. There's two major issues with altcoins. With Bitcoin, you had the discovery of a absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity. That's what Bitcoin is. And it took 20 years of looking by computer scientists to find it. And then in 2009...
Again, when you think about technology, it's evolving faster than people can buy it. This is the crazy thing. More people are now, still haven't found out about XRP because it's just such a fast technology, such a fast pace that you cannot find it out immediately.
And they discovered it. They found it after so much time and effort. And everything... So there was no expectation of cash flow. It was simply an exercise by computer scientists. Are we going to be there when this perfect, absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity is discovered? And they succeeded in 2009 without the expectation of future cash flow.
So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing people buying up supplies of XRP before it explodes.
Giants are doing just that. Kaiser reassures that a long-expected surge awaits, as Bitcoin's price is expected to rise exponentially in the first half of 2025.
And so the market's going to weed them all out. Anything that's not Bitcoin is centralized garbage, and it's all going to be weeded out. And all those folks, however, are going to come to Bitcoin, and it's going to increase kind of the the presence of Bitcoin, if you will. So there's half a trillion or 3/4 of a trillion in capital tied up in these garbage altcoins and DeFi and all that nonsense. That'll migrate over to Bitcoin, and it'll strengthen the hand of Bitcoin. So we're going to see that we're going to see that migration happen. So you put it all together, and you end up with Bitcoin becoming much more powerful, altcoins disappearing, and governments on the back foot, scrambling, not knowing what to do, as it should be. Proof of stake is fiat money. It's exactly fiat money. It just recreates the exact problem of fiat money. Fiat money is proof of stake. You have a lot of fiat money, you have power to go change laws. That's proof of stake. It already happened. It's called the US dollar. Recreating fiat money with digital money doesn't solve anything. It just creates more of a problem.
So that's the issue. People should be really reinvesting their money, not just buying, random stuff or keeping money in their bank, because it makes no sense if the big corporations are literally buying everything they have. They control no money. It made sense a few years ago. It really made sense because guess what? Everything was crashing. Stocks were crashing. So if you had a lot of money, this was good, right? Because if all the cryptos were crashing, you just bought them up. You bought them up for cheap. You bought real estate for cheap. These days, if you are actually having, tons of money, that is bad. Because there's no real winner. Like, your money will go basically to zero in 50 years, or it might halve, or the US dollar is not certain anymore. People have so many more investment opportunities. If you have 50, you couldn't think these things 30, 40 years ago because there wasn't enough money in the world to think about this stuff unless you were working in some real estate bank or doing a very high paying job. Nowadays, that is it. Like,
there any use case for it right now? The only use case for Ethereum has been to launch fraudulent ICOs. So it hasn't even it doesn't even know what it thinks it's supposed to be. The head of the project is constantly revising its mission statement. They revised the mission statement 4 or 5 times. So as a plaything by Silicon Valley, actually there's a split, David. It's an interesting split between Bitcoin and Silicon Valley. People would assume that Silicon Valley is on board with Bitcoin. That's not true. Silicon Valley actually doesn't like Bitcoin. Ethereum.
So again, people are bullish on Ethereum and crypto, but this mindset has changed as the prices went up. As in 2015, a lot more people were bearish on these cryptocurrencies. Now, suddenly, a lot of people are saying XRP, it's not that bad. I think I might just hold on to it. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. A lot of people who have said crypto is gone forever. Crypto is going to pass away. XRP will be gone here after the lawsuit. So many times I have read that. So many times I have heard that XRP is going to crash. And what I'm seeing right now is XRP going to all-time high and these people being shocked at what's happening with the prices. Because then again, the technology prevails. It's not only about money. It's also about technology we are seeing right now. But there is another warning I want to show to you guys. There was a warning for Chamath, which is also a billionaire, has actually warned, all XRP investors as well. This was another thing that I saw.
You're curious about what's happening to gold and Bitcoin.
Again, we need to see, and it's kind of my rule to teach you that this is basically a pattern we see in crypto every 4 years. Every 4 years, we get a ton of buyers who don't really understand what's happening in the markets. And I really like explaining on why this is exactly as predicted. Stuff I said 3 months ago has happened now.
They started to spike in the last few days. You'll have ratings organizations that add to this cascade by downgrading the United States. That happened on Friday. You'll have very smart people starting to signal that this is a much harder problem than they initially thought, way beyond what most people thought was a reasonable place to be for the United States economy. And so what will the implications be as rates go to those levels? You'll de-lever from the United States. You'll sell US debt. You'll own things like gold and Bitcoin. That's
why the main retail investors are buying cryptocurrencies. They don't trust it anymore. They don't trust the old payment system.
The opposite of that. I think what happened was there was really not a lot of financial literacy used to decide what to actually put in and what to cut. And that lack of discipline is going to create, I think, a negative set of consequences.
Yeah, so the markets are going to be changing right now more crazier than ever before.
This will be for the president to decide how much credit he actually wants to take for this bill. Because even though it has his name on it, the contents of the bill are different in actual facts than what I think he intended. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is when you look inside of what happened in the 11th hour last night, it's disappointing. If Doge was meant to be a reflection of the American voting population's desire for meaningful reform in government, cost controls, some form of austerity, and to get this debt spiral in check, this is the opposite of that. What happened was, in the 11th hour, you had a handful of people abstain. You had one person that fell asleep on the floor of the House, so he wasn't even woken up for the vote. And in the middle of all of that chaos, what happened was all kinds of things were added and attacked.
So yeah, the thing I'm seeing right now with crypto is it's really going to change people's perception. You know, right now we are seeing Bitcoin basically blowing up in a very good way. And it's probably going to be exploding even more. It's going to bring a lot of people in. And people are not satisfied with how the government is working right now. They're hoping for a better future.
What most people thought was a reasonable place to be for the United States economy. And so what will the implications be as rates go to those levels? You'll de-lever from the United States. You'll sell US debt. You'll own things like gold and Bitcoin. If you're curious about what's happening to gold and Bitcoin, they started to...
Again, less people don't want to hold what the government holds. And that's why they're choosing to go a different path. They're choosing to hold XRP. They're choosing to hold Ethereum. They want to just hold different stuff that's maybe not cryptocurrencies at this point.
Spike in the last few days. You'll have ratings organizations that add to this cascade by downgrading the United States. That happened on Friday. You'll have very smart people starting to signal that this is a much harder problem than they initially thought. That's how I personally interpreted Elon's comments over the last few days. So what was the House supposed to do? I think what they were supposed to do was implement some form of austerity. They were supposed to, by the will of the people, pass a rescission bill. They were given that rescission bill. It was just $9 billion. They couldn't even pass a $9 billion rescission. And instead, they passed a $4 trillion inflation to our debt. Now you hand this to the Senate. The Senate is in a very difficult place as well. Do they want to, quote unquote, claim victory and say, here you go, President Trump, here's your bill? But they'll further bastardize this thing, and it will be even further away from what I think benefits MAGA and benefits Main Street. So who does it benefit? Current course and speed right now, this bill is about traditional Republicans and traditional Democrats circling the wagon. You're going to see energy prices spike. You're gutting the number of electrons that will be available for things like AI. And the math is wrong. So when you sensitize this thing to a 4.5 or 5 or 5.25 rate, so meaning not what the CBO used, but the real conditions on the ground, this thing is an albatross. And I think, unfortunately, for President Trump's agenda and for a MAGA movement, this is the worst of all conditions. The financial markets will punish this.
So yeah, he's basically calling for a big price crash, but here's where I don't agree. I feel like he's saying, you know, the markets will correct because of this big bill or the Doge stuff. We already saw Elon Musk basically leave all the control he had. He left, did a full-on 180, and Trump was not happy. And look exactly what happened when Trump left. So I'm not sure when this interview was, but it does seem it was like pretty recent, maybe just before these events happened. But just after that, Trump went full 180 on crypto. basically sped up the crypto bills, went for XRP to talk about the future of it. He improved everything that was really, really great for the economy and for American people. We were waiting for, like he was talking about 0% crypto tax. I mean, which country does that? Almost none. And for small transactions, it really does make a difference. He invited key players. The biggest issue sometimes with governments is they don't listen to the biggest people in the industry. Like, for example, if you work in the car industry and you want to make, a great car, the government sometimes don't want to listen. They want to make their own rules. But Trump literally invited people when he signed the bill. He invited, Coinbase, people who were interested in XRP. He met up 6 months ago with Brad Garlinghouse, who's a very big player in crypto. Again, billionaires who can give him their opinion. Again, these are people who talk with other billionaires and have a ton of content between each other. So they're talking. So it's just a clear win for any XRP holders to see massive gains right now from this economy. I just don't see that, the market will adapt in a negative way until possibly in 3-4 months. So right now, not financial prediction, but short term, I am definitely bullish, where we didn't see that, ever happen in crypto history. We never saw these events, and I want to see how it all plays out.
Entering a period marked by parabolic upward moves in prices. But all that is about to change as the market gears up for a shock. Tariff fears are beginning to increase, and investors are hesitant. When thinking through the situation, he recently noted that Bitcoin may experience cyclical movements, even within a broader long-term downtrend. But the bigger picture still points toward major gains, despite all the factors in the market.
But this is where I will say, I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I'll put the chips on the table to say, this is the moment. This is the moment where we either re-underwrite what we voted for, or we mistakenly pass this Christmas tree concoction, and they're going to go in one direction, and it's away from us. Have a shortage of electrons because these financial actors, they're not, and in fairness to them, they're acting rationally. You take the financial incentive away and you can't underwrite this thing. What are they going to do? They're just going to stop doing it. So in the absence of electrons, what happens? Prices go up. It's inflationary. And now you'll have to allocate electrons. Does the electrons go to an AI data center or does it go to a home? In a different example, actually on the residential side, places like Florida, I think there was like an incentive for like batteries. So if you were about to get hit by a hurricane, you can buy these big battery systems from Tesla as an example, but there are other ones, Generac and whatever, Train. That was cut out. In Texas, all of these impacts will have negative consequences. My point is, I think you have to really look at what happened in the 11th hour.
So yeah, he's talking how bad stuff is happening, that we're going to be seeing a great crypto crash, but he didn't talk about, in my opinion, the positives right now that we're seeing with crypto and XRP. This is the biggest news that we have probably been seeing for the crypto markets. All we have been seeing is a few details that will potentially affect badly if they don't change. But again, one bad news, unless it's like a cataclysmic event, like the big thing that people are talking about, World War III. So if I mention it, I basically get demonetized. But that's the big thing that, people mention about. And what we're seeing right now is people going for these events to see a crypto crash. But it doesn't seem like it. Everything seems like all the other factors I looked at, everything looks like it's going to go to a full massive bull run.
Chamath's outlook is fueled by the impending wave of mass adoption, which he believes presents an unparalleled opportunity.
Again, if people, go for the governments less, if they don't trust their regulation, what do? They enter the crypto space because it's more decentralized, it's community friendly. Again, why don't you buy gold? It's because gold is rising very slow. Everybody who's been telling me gold is still sitting at same prices. Again, I could be wrong. People were talking about silver. Nothing wrong with that. But the big money-wise thing that really pumps prices is the community. And that's where XRP wins. The community, like, look at this, 3 million people, 5 million people have bought XRP so far, and maybe some have sold. And with that amount of leverage, it basically gives you a huge potential. 5 million people. Again, this is a big, big army of holders who like to talk about to their friends how much profit they made, what they're doing from here. And this is why I'm not that worried that, potentially we are going to be seeing a crash, in that sense. So I'm still very bullish on XRP, even if it dips a bit. I mean, if it goes up 40% and dips 10%, that's totally fine with me. We still have very, very bullish indicators. So yeah, we do have also Mark Jusko giving a price prediction, which is another thing I wanted to talk about. Mark Jusko is also a billionaire, and he's been also vocal about cryptocurrencies. So as I'm saying this, President Trump posed the greatest Bitcoin explanation of all time. Like, Trump is always tweeting about crypto. I find that extremely bullish, and just the way he talks about the U.S. companies like XRP Stellar being approved is just breaking news,
Complex adaptive system that is Bitcoin. It is a better money. It is the evolution of money.
Then we added Bitcoin. We thought of Bitcoin as a company. Today, I think Bitcoin is 2 trillion. We're like, well, could it get to also 4 or 5 trillion?
I'm wildly bullish, and I think that, we displaced gold as the core of money. And the monetary...
Again, the issue with gold is it's very hard to transfer it. How are you going to transfer 2,000 kilos or 10,000 pounds of gold? Are you going to put it on the airplane? No, you cannot. So what do? Put it on a ship that can potentially sink, and you need to be insured for it. Again, it's going to cost a lot of money. So Bitcoin is basically the new gold. That's what people are saying. XRP is even better because it takes less transactions.
The value of gold is about 10 trillion. So 10 trillion, and let's say there's, just a round numbers, 20 million Bitcoin. You're talking about, a meaningful price for the price of Bitcoin. And that will continue to accrete over time. And every halving, we add a zero. We get 10 times bigger as a network. So we went from...
Again, yeah, people were saying that $3 XRP is crazy back when I was in the forums in 2017. But now suddenly people are setting new prices, new price lines. To me, that's really insane.
10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000 this time. And next one will be 1 million. So that's coming.
Today, we have Morgan Creek Capital's Mark Yusko discussing his prediction for all Bitcoin investors and why the coming price surge will affect the entire crypto market in the coming weeks.
Again, yeah, and even Trump might be buying more Bitcoin now, just as he's tweeting about Bitcoin. There's a new report on July 22nd.
Yusko believes that the coming bull run will be unlike anything we've seen in recent history, and why he believes $400 trillion is about to pour into Bitcoin. We've seen many rapid cryptocurrency price rises in the last few weeks, with BlackRock at the helm. Yusko points out that just 1% of BlackRock's portfolio will open this floodgate to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars in institutional capital.
So yeah, BlackRock is buying literal billions and billions. Hello, Ian, and we are going to be seeing so much prices basically blowing up in the near future. Again, BlackRock buying a very much XRP. So I also have an article that I'm going to check out on this channel right after this video. So smash that like.
Price. So we could see the biggest crypto surge yet in just a matter of weeks. Let's get right into the latest interview with Mark Yusko as he gives his Bitcoin and crypto prediction and what we can expect in the days and weeks ahead.
And I'm bullish. And I think, we'll be many millions as we get to 10 trillion of market cap.
Again, 10 trillion market cap could be a very bullish sign for XRP. Could easily be $5, $10. Guys, I've been saying it. People were calling me crazy back, when I was saying 1 cent for XRP, that it will be $3. But they didn't listen. They said, oh, there's a lawsuit, you're going to lose. Or XRP has, it's fighting against Ethereum. And now we're seeing this type of bullish movement where people are literally calling for $20.
Yeah, 500K. So that's my base case. That's my base case. But the price of gold will continue to appreciate as we print more fiat. So that number is not static, right? So 1 million, I think, is highly likely at the next halving. and the value of gold will continue to go up. So that's my base case. The problem with fiat is, like, there are stories where people, they open up a house and they see all the cash buried in the wall. No one missed that cash because they just printed more. But
Exactly. Like, let's see what happened when, Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet went missing. When it didn't move for many years, everybody was talking about it. But if you have cash, who cares? You can just print more. You can, and that's why people are going for finite number of things in life. They're going for real estate. Yes, you can build, more apartments, but never in the same location. There's always going to be more people. Yes, you can never get more land. You can get land in random places. You can get a random meme coin, but you can never get more XRP. This is it. More and more is getting burnt every day. And once they announce that burn, boom, it's sky high.
We know how many Bitcoins are because we have a permanent, immutable truth. And again, the aha moment for me was 838, now 839 years, we've had a trust system. Banking is built on trust. You give your money to a bank because it's not safe to hold it all yourself and carry it around. So you trust them. But I actually have a recurring nightmare, not like every day, but maybe once a year. Go to the bank and punch in my code, because I do have an ATM card, and it says $0. How would I prove it's not zero? I don't have a statement. I haven't had a statement for years. Is their word against mine? Now I could probably prove.
And that's the power of blockchain. That's why, these transactions taking 2-3 seconds is so much easier for anyone that's big into crypto, And there was people where they had their bank's account frozen. They had all their money lost because they put all their money into one basket.
Because of old receipts or something that I used to have money and now they say I don't, but it would be their word against mine. And so it's a really interesting dynamic that this complex adaptive system that is Bitcoin, it is a better money. It is the evolution of money. And it's funny. So I'm wildly bullish, and I think that, we displaced gold as the core of money. And
that's the issue. You can just not care about gold anymore. Again, when you talk, with people, what you're holding, you tell them you hold cryptocurrencies because there's a massive community for that. For gold, it's mostly banks, and you cannot carry gold around. Like, the thing with Bitcoin is really you can send it to friends. When you want to send some gold to a friend as a tip, like if you want to send $10 of XRP to your friend, you can literally do that and they become a holder. And that's how it spreads. It's like a disease. It's like common cold, right? And when you have gold, you gotta give them like 1 ounce, which is like $200 or whatever. It's not 1 ounce, but you get my point. You gotta give them like $30 instead of $5. And they gotta like not lose it, because a lot of people like throw that small gold coin or whatever somewhere in the trash accidentally. With crypto, it's always gonna be on your exchange, right? And this is where the big hype comes in. Like, diversity is key. I fully agree. When you have, for example, some money on the bank and it gets frozen, or something happens, or somehow you lose it all. Then you can go, I have XRP. I can use an XRP card and buy some stuff.
Somewhere in that range. It's kind of tough to pin down. And that will continue to accrete over time. And every halving, we add a zero. We get 10 times bigger as a network. So we went from 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000 this time. And next one will be 1 million. So that's coming. I'm bullish. And I think, we'll be...
Again, when billionaires are bullish, that's definitely good news. Billionaires being bullish news for me. Like, literally, we saw people talking how bearish they are last 3 years. And now we are seeing, billionaires talking how they are excited for it.
Many millions as we get to 10 trillion of market cap. But I'm sorry, no, not many millions. But we'll be 500K. So that's my base case. That's my base case. But the price of gold.
So again, we're not that far off from $10 XRP if this happens.
Gold will continue to appreciate as we print more fiat. So that number is not static, right? So 1 million, I think, is highly likely at the next halving. And the value of gold will continue to go up. So that's my base case. But as bullish as I am, and I've been bullish a long time, there's a guy you should interview sometime named Murray Stahl. Murray runs a firm called Horizon Kinetics in New York. Old school. He's even older than me, right? And I'm old. He's even older. And he was even earlier than me. And he makes me sound like a bear. He's like, no, Mark, you don't understand. This is the apex technology that will...
Again, I feel like this technology is undervalued is because a lot of people don't believe in digital stuff. A lot of older generation, they don't want to learn how important it is for daily life. Today I was talking with my neighbor and he didn't know how to use the phone, right? So I had to tell him, and he's missing out on all these potential gains. A lot of people like to keep it old school. I'm seeing that right now. But now in 20 years, as younger generation is coming in, they want to learn about crypto. They're not old school anymore, knowing nothing about tech. And they're seeing the potential of tech and AI, especially AI. It's just becoming a real big thing. You know, it's not fun and games anymore. It can literally save your job. It can save your life. And people are willing to pay thousands for that, because the most important thing in life, guys, remember, is time. You can make more money. You can make infinite money. I made some pretty decent gains with XRP, but one thing you can never get is time. So if you have more time, like there's little billionaires that would pay you millions just to give, if you give them 5 extra years. But you cannot buy it, and that's what the thing is. A lot of people invest into their future. That's why they buy XRP, because they believe in technology, they believe in AI, they believe how it can save them time. And that's what people are really talking about with money. It's to buy experiences and save you time. So remember that all the time. But yeah, this is why Bitcoin is also pumping up. And this is why these billionaires are investing into technology. They're investing into XRP. They're investing into AI. Either they're investing into the coin, or they're investing into something, such as like investment into Ripple. Ripple, the ones who made XRP. Because they want to get something out of it. They realize that if the bank takes that millisecond instead of 15 hours to send a transaction, guess what? They save millions of fees.
On the bottom, this is Bitcoin, this is fiat. And that's exactly what's happening. There's all that gravity is going to push that bad money, and this little triangle is going to become all money.
Yusko reassures that a long-expected surge awaits. Embracing an unyielding enthusiasm for the crypto realm, Yusko confidently predicts that explosive growth looms on the horizon, as BlackRock and many other crypto giants are doing just that.
Again, BlackRock is buying billions.
The reason Jamie Dimon hates it, they have to hate it, right? Horse and buggy people hated horseless carriages. Train companies hated airlines.
It's the new big thing. It's exactly as this billionaire said that I'm telling you guys. They don't like crypto because it's an old time, like new time thing is stock market. The old time thing is the stock market. The new time thing is crypto and XRP.
People who sell us crap.
It just pumped $200 billion in like 2-3 months. Do you think it's just a fade that's going to fade away? It's been here 12 years. I missed out on it 2016, and I'm not going to miss out on it now that, just 8 years passed.
Food filled with seed oils don't like steak. I mean, come on. Warren Buffett, 46% was financial services. He doesn't want you to own this. Right. Jamie Dimon, 100% is financial services. He doesn't want you to own this. So at the end of the day, 839 years, the banking industry, insurance, brokerage, title, it's a great run. It's over. Now, it's not over tomorrow. It's not over next week or next month.
So just like the knowledge is going to increase, might take a few more weeks.
But it's over. And incrementally, bit by bit, that big orange Pac-Man is going to eat everything. And that's good. People say, well, you're not a real Bitcoin if you don't put 100% in. Bottom line, it's your savings technology. It's your running money. So you put 2, 5, 8, 10, the younger you are, the bigger the number, away. In cold storage, chill, and...
So yeah, some people, in their 20s, 30s literally got rich because they invested Bitcoin. 2009, they got 1,000 Bitcoin. Now they can afford 5 Bitcoin, but that's completely fine, right?
I turn into Bitcoin or Bitcoin treasury companies or other.
I have a friend who literally was rich, and because he put all his life savings into Bitcoin. He believed in technology. And that's the real thing. Right now, more and more people are becoming millionaires in easier ways. Literally, it created millionaires overnight for XRP just recently.
Things like that. And so, or venture capital. I like to invest in venture capital. That's the other one.
Does Bitcoin eventually eat all other crypto?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, in the sense that no other crypto will take a role in money. None. But that doesn't mean that we can't have other digital assets or other blockchains that have value to do other things. Right. Smart contracts are a good thing. I mean, there's some things that have to get worked out, but they are.
Exactly. So he's saying that Bitcoin will not destroy XRP. He's literally mentioning XRP as we speak. He's saying that basically Bitcoin is going to do some things and then XRP is going to do the other things. It's going to be a win-win for both.
Are a good thing. DEXs are a good thing. You know, one of the challenges is, I say it all the time, is if ETH was created today, would anybody use it? When you could use SUI or
Exactly. So right now, you know, XRP is the first. That's why I'm bullish on it. Or, well, Ethereum is the first. XRP was the second. But if XRP was the first, I can guarantee you it would actually beat Ethereum by market cap today. Unfortunately, they were, I think, a few months or a year too late. But he is saying that this is why these cryptos, you know, sometimes they're first and they survive all these bear markets, and the technology behind it is absolutely insane. So XRP still has great potential. It's basically the second for this decentralization.
Solana. I don't know. But the fact is, it wasn't invented today. It was invented first, so it has critical mass. There's more development on that. Does that mean it's going to go away, or is it going to go to 10,000? I don't really know. So it's not my preferred, but, and I'm going to leave you with this. So one chain to rule all chains, the Lord of the Rings, it's just Bitcoin. And we build L2s and L3s and L4s, similar to, we got gold at the base layer. Then we got Fedwire. Then we got ACH. Then we got Visa and MasterCard. I don't ever use money. I use a little plastic card and I charge. And once a month, I settle to ACH that settles to Fedwire. I never touch gold. So I don't really know yet, but most of the meme coins, they're going to zero. I mean, there's no intrinsic value.
This is what I've been calling for months now, is why XRP, you know, is probably going to be outperforming all these meme coins.
The ones that don't, I mean, you know, maybe there'll always be a place. Is NVIDIA stock at these levels any different than a meme coin?
Valid.
Not really. Not really. You can't justify the valuation based on cash flows.
Yep.
Tesla, same thing. Is it a good company? Sure. Is the value of that company less if you liquidated it? Yes. So what's the rest? Memishness.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Supply and demand. Is there going to be a change? You know, when, look, my generation, the boomers, we created a very cool system. We created this thing called 401ks, and we all put money in and we pump up the stocks. And then at some point, we're going to have to drain it.
That's the original Bitcoin.
Capitalization weighted. The more you put in, the higher it goes. The more you put in, the higher it goes, and it's self-fulfilling. Well, at some point when we start drawing out, which is going to start happening pretty soon, you start taking $1 trillion a year out, then it's less good. Same thing with real estate. We pump up real estate prices, and then suddenly all of us need to downsize. Who's going to buy all the McMansions?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, not the price they're listed, $1 million if you...
So yeah, that is why, you know, the stock market, again, trillions and trillions will be pumped out in the next 10 years. It might not happen overnight, but this is why people are buying XRP. Again, smash that like button. Welcome everyone new to the stream. I just found a new post. We are going to be going very much into detail onto this. Look at this. Ooh, this looks nice. What's the suitable entry on XRP? Sanjay, the suitable entry on XRP is probably $2 when it gets there, I would say. $2 is going to be always a good price for XRP at this point. And not financial advice, any form, but that's what I would buy that. Or 1.5 if it ever goes that low. Where do you see Dogecoin hitting this cycle? It really depends how much Elon Musk hits about it. But I did find something while we were watching this videos, a very, very important case for XRP, guys. Smash that like button if you haven't already. And there is a secret tie between BlackRock and Ripple. They've been building same systems under different names. Now, welcome everyone. And what we're seeing right now is XRP and BlackRock's secret collaboration. Now, let's take a deep dive into this because this is something that no other YouTuber has been talking about. This goes deeper than anyone realizes. So you can literally see here Ripple and the ISO 22 that I had 222 I have been talking a lot about. So basically, BlackRock, $1 billion company, working or at least eyeing Ripple. Again, this is what I've been talking that will really pump the prices. Let's start here. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says the next generation for markets will be tokenization of stocks and bonds. But did you know the US Treasuries are already tokenized on XRPL? So basically Ripple Ledger via Ondo Finance.
Moving forward in tokenization.
He's been very bullish on tokenization.
But crypto is going to play a big role.
So guess who's quietly partnered with Ondo BlackRock? That's immediately like the thing. That's why it really went this big. I'm not even sure how low it will drop. It really depends on the bear market. It's really hard to predict the prices. But right now, everything screams bullish for Ripple. It might be years before it even drops that. And if we ever see prices drop lower, it is more possible that we are going to be seeing like a black swan event. And at this point, like these corporations buying, I don't see it happening.
Bloomberg even, I believe we're going to be in the cutting edge of tokenizing bonds and stocks.
Again, you know, like buying 0.1 of stock, buying it on the exchange market. Again, everything is getting upgraded with a new tech that came out in the last 10 years with AI. So what are we going to do? Ripple and crypto is going to be entering on all this technology stuff.
It would democratize more.
The old financial systems are outdated and they need a new upgrade. Ondo's co-founder came from Goldman Sachs. Again, $1 billion, trillion probably company. So did many of BlackRock's top brass. So did Gary Gensler. You know, he literally came from Goldman Sachs. I think he was the teacher of Sam Bankman-Fried. So here's a wild theory as like Ripple faced the SEC, fought, settled, and walk away cleaner than anyone expected. What if it was an initiation? So this is what the guy is saying, that Ripple's lawsuit was potentially, you know, planned. Vice President of Partnerships, you can see him full-time. So all the big players, co-founder, came from Goldman Sachs as well. So I'm guessing like the Vice President, US iShares Institutional. Again, a Vice President for BlackRock is also a Vice President for Ondo Finance. Crazy theory, right? BlackRock's XDNA. And again, guys, I want to tell you this non-financial advice. And from what I'm hearing, this is like a rumor. It's a very crazy rumor. But BlackRock, again, being a $1 billion, trillion company, a great company that, you know, actively prints out money, entering crypto could be the next big thing. BlackRock has already an ETF called iShares Genomics, Immunology, and Healthcare Index ETF, XDNA. This ETF is all about investing in DNA, healthcare, and genomic infrastructure. So wait till you see that is happening on XRP Ledger. Okay, so this is a really, really hard read for most of you, right? If we end up hitting XRP $5 next week, it would be absolutely crazy. I think we are going to be seeing XRP really pump in September. But again, I am not sure what's going to happen. But seemingly, because all of the crypto government regulation will come out in September, this is when it could really rally, right? Like historically. You know, and it's going to be hard, but I did see crypto drop also 70%. You know, if it hits $5, I saw crypto drop 90% when we didn't have government saving us. So what's you know, telling no that XRP will drop below 2? Maybe people bought it for $1 and still want to sell it and missed out on $3 for selling it. So this is the big thing. DNA on-chain launched on July 4th. The same day as President signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, in 2011, Bitcoin wallet mysteriously woke up. So their goal is decentralized sovereign identity, encrypted medical data. So this is like, for my IQ, is too much. But again, this is like a deep dive that we are seeing right now that no other YouTuber is talking about. So that BlackRock is entering. Like, this is literally wrote by someone very smart or someone that took way too much research. Again, props to him for writing this. But it's basically, you basically have your identity for DNA, and BlackRock kind of owns this on the XRP ledger. So This to me is completely insane what we're seeing right now. Again, no YouTubers talking about this because it's very hard to understand. And it's also very hard for me to explain. But just to give you a recap of what's going on. So the CEO, Larry Fink of BlackRock, the $1 trillion company, is basically partnering on the ledger of Ripple via Ondo Finance. And again, Ondo Finance co-founder came from Goldman Sachs, and so did most of BlackRock, and so did Gary Gensler. So he's saying basically the lawsuit was basically a test for XRP. And it's not super insane to think that. Again, we would need more proof on that they launched like this thing to work with them, that they would have to pay $500 million and basically give them all the documents. So when you are getting sued by the SEC, you got to think, a long-term play. You got to give all the documents. I guess you could check all the XRP finances, what's going on. You got to give everything to the court to see if there's something wrongdoing. So you can see over here, Brad Garlinghouse just handed us a massive breadcrumb and most people missed it. The government owns your identity. Again, the DNA protocol that they own on the Ripple ledger. This is what Brad Garlinghouse said.
It's interesting, though, the government owns your identity. Yep. If you don't have a passport or a birth certificate or a driver's license, whatever, I don't know each country's dynamic, but like, if you don't have those things, you are not who you say you are. The government owns your identity. Now, we may not like that, but I just view that as, that's just a truism. And one of the things Ripple has tried to do is we're pragmatic. Even though my philosophical view on something may be over here, to build a business and to drive the success of the XRP ecosystem, sometimes you just have to be pragmatic about the world. Even though I love the idea of blockchain-based identity as a utility for blockchains.
Again, this is crazy. If the SEC drops the appeal, yeah, XRP will definitely be hitting $5 in my opinion. It would be nice. But again, Brad literally confirmed it, that the XRP government, what if we're getting this big company, basically our DNA, your identity on the chain of Ripple, on the chain of XRP. That's literally what it all makes sense. Like, the more you start reading this info, the more you put your mind to this, it kind of blows your mind, right? Because this only has 14,000 views. Again, we got to check what other people are saying about this. But Brad literally said that he wants to work by putting this DNA on it. So Ondo X Ripple X BlackRock. Ondo has deep ties with BlackRock. Again, this is one of the biggest companies, BlackRock, and then Ondo has been pumping as well. Ondo's founder, Nathan Allman, is an ex-Goldman like many at BlackRock. Again, BlackRock and Goldman Sachs is a very big company, so maybe they didn't know each other before. They're all ex-Goldman, so is Larry Fink's inner circle. And I think this is connected because anyone really rich has worked at, Goldman Sachs. You kind of hear it all the time. Aladdin plus XRP. BlackRock's Aladdin platform is the central brain of global asset management, managing over $20 trillion. So $20 trillion they are managing. Rumors persist, unconfirmed but circulating XRP circles, that Aladdin have tested blockchain-based cross-border payment rails. Again, with how fast technology is evolving, I wouldn't be too crazy about it, and we are seeing the price on this. So XRP's interoperability with ICO 222 and FedWire's July 14 deadline makes it an ideal plugin. So again, BlackRock already has some technology that they might work with XRP. So that would be really nice. Ripple's push for tokenized RWA, so real world assets. I know a lot about real world assets and they're really bullish on it. Again, a good choice from their side. Ripple recently emphasized its push into tokenizing real estate, treasuries, CBDCs, and commodities. So that's why Ripple really blew up, because we are going to be seeing crypto really pumping at this point. Mirrors BlackRock's digital asset strategy to unlock $100 trillion in capital through tokenization. So yeah, there is definitely clues that Ripple is going to be working with BlackRock at some point. Again, this could be a clue. They already have Aladdin is already forming something of their own. And there are some nitpicks, like this is not a confirmation, but it is a hint. It is a hint of what he's hinting at, but again, it couldn't mean it's true. But I definitely think that if they work they could work because BlackRock basically owns everything. I'm not too sure what the connection of these important people like Gary Gensler, and Ondo and BlackRock. When you're in these spaces, it's very common to work for the same company. So if Ripple gets this partnership, it could definitely see $5 because like BlackRock is a big company, right? And BlackRock owns a lot of smaller companies, which working with XRP would be like a small step. So yeah. Would be nice. I'll sell my house if it hits $2 again. Like that would be awesome, right? Again, we don't know what the price will drop. We don't know what the price will go up because we didn't expect XRP going from $2 to $3.4 in just a week. It never happened before. And, the SEC dropping the appeal will definitely help. So that would be definitely very nice. But yeah, right now we're going super into depth on what's happening here. And there's people commenting again. I think some of these stuff doesn't apply, but it's true that BlackRock owns, or at least is, XDNA on XRP ledger. So they're already working in a smaller way on being their own ledger, and XRP can process all of this stuff. So here, if we check the comments, maybes and hope makes total sense. Glad to be part of it. Why do we want BlackRock involved? Why am I all in? Your thread's very popular. What does it mean? Is Ripple deep state? Please just answer that one question. People don't understand it, and that's what I'm trying to explain. So BlackRock, basically, what we're going to be potentially seeing is your own ID on the blockchain. I guess this could be also for confirmations, right? It's not going to be to invade your privacy, but it could potentially be so you can have your own crypto wallet and it could be tied to yourself. The government has already talked about this. And if you want to open it on exchange, you can just verify your crypto wallet. Again, this is something that the government wants to do in the US. They want to tie it to basically your own wallet and your identity, right? Or your ID. And this is where the crazy stuff comes in. This is something that's going to be happening in 5 to 10 years. Again, it's going to make know your customer a lot more transparent and easier. So the lowest it will dip based on my personal research is 220. The highest it could go this week is 7-ish. It really depends on so much news how low and high will XRP go. XRP will not be a part of BlackRock. ICO is destroying BlackRock. God is this. So, this is the Twitter comments I'm seeing is a lot of people don't understand that BlackRock is literally working to get partnerships like this. It's too crazy. It's a lot of speculative theory, but this is $1 trillion company in the making. And with the US government, talking with XRP and all their finances, all of XRP's finances being, basically shown to them, it just shows you that this might be the next big thing. This was posted 5 hours ago. Insanely good research. XRP might go from there and work in some way. I feel like XRP right now is still growing its technology. A lot of these takes are just potential thesis other than verified sources. But definitely makes a lot of sense. So again, very, 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 very bullish news that came out 5 hours ago that I wanted to show to you guys. Again, mostly deep research that people don't understand how much this will, blow out basically. If this comes out to be true, again, this is $1 trillion company working with Ripple. You see potential in, wait, let me check. Do I see potential in XDC network? I got to check it out. I don't know what that really is. And we are going to go to the next video right now. Let me show you this. Why XRP is really going to explode here.
City is expecting Bitcoin will go much higher than 100,000.
So yeah, XRP $7 is potentially realistic if some scenarios happen. These scenarios need to happen that these billionaires are talking about. Again, you know, there is a lot of bullish potential for XRP that really made it explode. And it's exactly as predicted. I've been calling this for 2-3 months, but unfortunately my channel was not big enough for people to hear me. And that's why I'm asking you for a like button. Because if you drop that like, this I can literally show to people on what's happening. I can show them what we are seeing live. I don't want people to not know what they're buying. I want them to know where and why they are getting it. So that's my passion. That's my goal. And if that's something that interests you, I'm only asking for a like. It's free.
25,000 on the trend line. Well, it certainly will probably get there. It'll probably get to 250. But
again, 250,000 Bitcoin, XRP, you know, $7 is certain, especially if we see that BlackRock partnership I was talking about.
we'll probably not spend more than 90 days. At least if you look at the previous 3 cycles, that's what's happened. You have not spent a ton of time. Could it be 6 months? Could it be 2 months, possibly?
Again, you know, you got to think about the compound. So we literally needed 1 month for XRP to reach from $2 to $3.4. So if I am talking fast, it is because I am very excited about this. We needed 1 month for XRP to double in price. So maybe it's going to take next rally, it might take 2 weeks. Next time, it might take 1 day for it to go from 3.8 to $5. You don't know, because we have never seen the crypto government, basically the government, enter crypto at this point.
Could there be a double top? The history of this thing is that we don't spend a lot of time in these super bubble periods. This isn't paper Bitcoin. This is a bunch of people who are selling out Bitcoin that they've been holding for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, right? There are these spikes. People do sell. So it's OG sellers of Bitcoin. That's just a fact. This is what people do. When you have life-changing wealth.
Again, you know, like all these billionaires are buying XRP for a very good reason. They're not buying it to lose money. They're buying it to make money, and they're paying people $2 million, $1 million a year just to give them the right advice. So why are they buying Bitcoin and Ethereum right now? They're stacking it up like butter.
It just means that we're going to be at even with fiat. So I think the lesson here is that at this point, we are going to be in the millions of dollars per Bitcoin.
So yeah, you know, people calling millions of dollars, I thought it was crazy in 2017, but the multiplier is very, very significant, especially for something like XRP, because it's a smaller market cap than Bitcoin. It means it has more potential. Could take years, you know, for XRP to reach $10, but years when a crypto goes up 300%, 400% is not that insane. The stock market might never go, you know, triple, maybe in 30 years. So it literally beats out the stock market.
So if you're going to plan on sticking around this planet until 2043, we're probably going to be in a heavy Bitcoin world.
So 2043, if you guys are still live, again, Ripple isn't going anywhere. That's why I plan this. You know, when I look at this channel, I plan a 5-year plan. I plan a 10-year plan. This channel is still going to be here after 2 years, hopefully. So, you know, I'm thinking that just the first year is just like building a house, right? So first year, your XRP is probably just building a layer foundations. The second year, you know, it's probably like adding some bricks. And even on the 6th, 7th year, you actually can add the roof. And this is what we're seeing with crypto right now. It's like an investment in your time.
By 2043. And we're going to be at millions of dollars of Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that we're all going to be using Bitcoin for everything. It just means that Bitcoin it'll be the dominant asset at that point. Velocity is very low because all the money has been moved from the banking system to basically the Fed, right? So it's all this QE that's happening that's sucking up all the liquidity, and the banks are very cautious, and so they're not lending it out super fast. It does kind of seem like we're gonna become very Japanese. I think that seems to be what's gonna happen here. There's so much money out there. It's just,
again, there's too much money out there. That's why billionaires are trying to get rid of it. They're trying to buy stuff. Why are billionaires buying real estates in billions of dollars? They're buying private islands. They're buying jets. They're buying potentially everything. And some of that is crypto. Why? You know, the Louis Vuitton founder has $750 million dollars basically. The markets are changing very quickly, and we went from a big recession in 2022 to basically, oh, I have too much money, I have to get rid of it. And they basically, you know, I have to get rid of it so I can have rent, I can leave some for my kids, I can have dollars, I can basically, I don't want dollars anymore, I want to have, you know, a big fancy boat because I just got a nice bonus. So it's really changing in that sense that we went from a big recession, we went to people wanting to own.
So much that the minute they stop this money tightening, which is what the Federal Reserve's been doing for the last 3 years, if you reverse that trend from the last 3 years of money QT, I think we're going to absolutely have the biggest risk on summer around. And I think this will coincide with a big, beautiful fall. And maybe a Bitcoin winter early next year. But
so yeah, he's basically saying a potential price crash for XRP early next year. That would be very brutal, but he has a positive outlook on the long term. So you got to think about crypto 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is where the big wins are.
You know, I am leaning to the idea that we could have a massive rally followed by a massive crash.
Yeah, so I definitely think so, because what do people do when they see XRP $6? Obviously, they will sell it, right? $6 will be 2 million, 3 million for some people. So yeah, it does seem like a massive crash. You know, XRP to $2 isn't too crazy when you think about it. When we saw previous cryptos crash that much,
it's kind of my base case. I'm not trying to FUD anybody. I'm not trying to sell my Bitcoin or anything, but there's actually quite a bit of cash in the system. I did not know this. There's almost $1 trillion of cash. Now, why is there so much cash?
And if we saw like XRP burns, again, this would pump, you know, XRP to $100. It would be theoretically possible, especially with the government, you know, coming in and helping.
Well, there's a lot of people who actually don't trust banks. They want a bearer asset. They want to be able to take their money out at all times. And they keep cash. I used to keep some cash, tens of thousands of dollars in cash, just to have it. And I don't do it anymore, but I used to. So a lot of people, they don't mind if their money is being depreciated over time. They would like to have the access to their money. They value that access a lot.
A lot of older people, they don't want to buy XRP, but a newer generation is coming in that will basically buy it.
And so there's almost $1 trillion in physical cash in the U.S. system. So that's the first observation. Now, the second observation is that you really need to look at a broader metric, which is M3. And M3 includes both of the M0 and M1, but it also includes institutional money markets. That is, places where institutions park their money. As well as Fed repos, repurchase agreements, which are basically as good as cash, right? So basically you're giving money to the Fed, and they're saying, hey, you can, this is a 1-day repurchase agreement. You can trade that. So that's effectively cash, right? And we're going to earn money on it. And so the Fed stopped publishing this metric, but the elements of this metric can be more or less reconstituted. And
so it's crazy that they can actually check that as well. Like, did they just stop posting about it?
So you have a number for the U.S. So that number is $36 trillion, right? So that's kind of our money supply right now. We have $36 trillion of base, what he calls base money. That's just in the U.S. That doesn't include the yuan, the yen, or the euro. So that gives you a sense of when you're measuring Bitcoin, which is sort of a true $2 trillion asset. Just in the U.S. alone, there's $36 trillion of actual cash.
That's crazy. $36 trillion. Nowadays, everyone wants to use, you know, basic cards and stuff like that. It's actually crazy to me XRP doesn't have a burn yet. I think it is happening in theory, but the thing is, like, it seems like the cash could have a burn. It could have a massive $1 trillion burn. That would be insane. That would be nice. $34 trillion of cash, and that's why people are starting to use cards more.
Right. That does not include debt. It does not include stocks. Does not include real estate. That's just actual money that's floating around. Okay, that's the second observation. I thought that was really good to get a sense of kind of the size of this. Now, what does the Federal Reserve print? Well, none of this really, because they basically determine the interest rate, but the printing is actually done by the banks, right? So the banks are doing.
Yeah, I would take that, a market volatile XRP that goes up and down on the weekends, goes 20% up, 20% down. I would take that any day over dollars basically losing me money.
All the green printing here. But
just by holding, cash in the bank, you can lose $5,000, $10,000 so easily.
The banks need to be induced to do the printing by the Fed.
Kruger has been bullish in 2025 and believes that people in the crypto world don't understand that there's $20 trillion of actual movable money. He says
So yeah, that's what I've been telling you guys, and that's what I've been telling people. $20 trillion of potential money can come into the markets.
Relentless math of this asset coming in is going to be mind-boggling. And once you give 100 million Americans with brokerage accounts access to buy Bitcoin, that's really when the game starts. He stands firm that Bitcoin is going to be the primary beneficiary of the next price explosion, which ETFs will play a major part.
Again, we saw that with stock market. Stock market was pumping before, but this time it's like XRP and crypto going back at it again.
What happened in 2008? Well, in 2008, we had the banks were running about $100 billion in reserve here. And then all of a sudden, that number went all the way up to 7 trillion, right? And with the QT, the Fed doing these buybacks, buying back debt from and buying back repurchase agreements, this number is now 6 trillion, right? But
so that's what I like about XRP. You can just, hold any amount you want, and you're never going to get printed more. Imagine if you could just, buy XRP and you would finally find out it can be printed or it can be made more. With XRP, that's not possible. Actually, there's some smaller burns, and in theory, there could be more burns. They could burn the entire treasury of Ripple. If 75% of people that hold XRP would vote to burn Ripple's entire supply, they could do it, which is like 150 billion, or I think it's, something like that. I think it's like 50 million XRP, so it could be like, 150 million.
This number is not organic at all, right? So we've gone from here to now. The state has come in and said we're gonna maintain this just massive quantitative easing, and which, by the way, since for the last 3 years we've been in tightening. We have not been printing from this side of the balance sheet, right? So we've been in tightening, but overall we've been in this massive QE now for almost 18 years, right? Almost 18 years. So that's the third observation. Now,
again, the markets have been pretty brutal. If you look at Japan, and we see the Korean markets entering basically XRP and everything like that.
If you look at Japan,
like Korean markets are seriously entering XRP.
Right? They did QE way before us, right? And let's zoom in on this chart here. They started the QE back in the 90s, and you can't quite see it here, but they've been pushing it much more aggressively than us. And it's a little bit more organic than in the US. The US just sort of fell, but here it sort of dropped. But the most important thing here is that this number at this point in dollar terms was 4.5 trillion. So actually, 5 years ago, the Japanese banks had $5 trillion in deposits. Okay, even more than the U.S., which I was just like, wow, hard to believe, but it's true. And I think what Matthew's point is, I guess, is that we're getting a little. Japan shows us where we're going, and so
that's why U.S. is going so hard on crypto. That's why U.S. is so bullish on crypto. They don't want to repeat the past mistakes. They want to diversify their own assets and basically make money in other ways than just the U.S. government. Trump realizes that, and it improves it massively.
He makes sort of the point that we can kick the can down the road a lot further than we think, and Japan is really living proof of that. Their debt to GDP is over 200%. They've got, even though their money supply is a third of the U.S., 5 years ago, their bank reserves exceeded the U.S., right? So, we can become more Japanese, and we probably will become more Japanese.
So yeah, when the government becomes more conservative, like XRP is still great investment. Again, not financial advice. Fundamentals have not changed. News is bullish. Rumors are bullish. There's every single day there's coming more news for XRP, which is good. It convinces people to talk about it, and it convinces people to come back to my show, the LAN, coin show, and talk about what's going on with XRP. And that's what people really like. They like to turn on the news and they like to watch, bad or good, anything you want. And that's where XRP really wins. When you go to Bitcoin, there's no development. There's no partnerships, and there is a diehard community for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still good, but I'm talking like a lot of these projects die out because there is no news at all.
Over the next 10 to 15 years. And I think,
by the time it hits $10, it's already going to be too late because people will check it out and see, oh, it's $10. I'm going to go to another coin. So what we're seeing right now is people moving into the lines of basically trying to move it to $10. They're trying to join the community on the road to $10 because that's why the big institutions buy. They believe it will hit $10. Welcome everyone as well, and smash that like button. Thank you so much.
This is a reminder that we're probably not going to experience something just completely catastrophic in the next couple of years. This is going to take a decade or more to play out. Now, here's the fifth observation, okay? This is a great metric that Matthew builds up. This is a metric where he looks at the ratio of the green to the bank reserves, right? And again, what we see is this kind of this. So this number is sort of how much potential leverage there is in the system.
Kruger shares his bold predictions for Bitcoin in the months ahead. Now that he's laser focused on Bitcoin, Kruger not only lays out the revolutionary Bitcoin power law model.
Exactly. Billionaires are calling that it's going to pump, and billionaires are calling that XRP is bull market cycle is starting, and why the government, literally says we don't want dollars anymore. We don't want to repeat the same mistake as Japan. Definitely screams very bullish for me. Like, this is the next big thing for, US. They're going big on crypto. That's why Trump is tweeting about it every single day. We're just one tweet away from XRP going to $5 if Trump tweets about it. That would be awesome, though.
He says we're about to see massive capital pouring into the crypto space. With major pension funds and institutional investors on board for the coming cycle, crypto is on track to be a $10 trillion digital asset class. This cycle will separate itself from its predecessors as devalued fiat.
Exactly. Like, most people will not buy a little of Bitcoin. If you could hold 50 of something that's small, or if you could hold like one Bitcoin, which like 0.001 Bitcoin, which one would you buy? And that's exactly the thing. They would rather buy $30 of XRP and say, hey, I have 10 XRP. It literally makes sense from a mental standpoint than saying, hey, I have 0.001% of XRP. So it just screams very, very bullish for me, because a lot of retail investors do not understand the market cap and they will decide to buy this. So this is very, very, very good news for anyone new to crypto. Seems like we are going to see a massive one. So we also have Michael Saylor as well. This is going to go to a whole new level in 2025. Look at this. Let's watch Michael Saylor because he is a billionaire
I think
on
2020
Bitcoin, and I feel like he likes other cryptocurrencies as well. XRP will skyrocket to $100 straight up. I mean, $100 is going to be hard, but $5 is something that people have been saying will never happen. And it did happen.
astronomically.
With thousands of corporations across the United States now buying Bitcoin, the demand for the leading digital asset has increased exponentially and would serve as the gateway to substantial institutional investments, drawing interest from sovereign wealth funds, major corporations, and even governments.
Exactly, like every single government like wants to get crypto at some point. Like look at El Salvador. They were calling it one of the first, and now we are seeing governments not only talk about buying Bitcoin, but literally the US talking about having XRP as an asset class, as a treasury. Isn't that crazy? In a treasury, people would call you crazy if you said XRP was going to be in a treasury. And now we're seeing, it will happen.
Saylor envisions that this development will pave the way for large corporations to incorporate cryptocurrency.
Again, the big crypto bill passed and, the Clarity Act, this basically gives a green light for corporations to invest into it.
Currencies into their balance sheets. Let's get right into the latest interview with Michael Saylor and why Bitcoin is poised to revolutionize cryptocurrency in 2025.
What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin's the next wave. Today, it is the 7th largest asset in the world. And you can count them, right?
So yeah, probably XRP is like top 100, top 200.
Number one asset in the world, gold. 5,000.
Like it's probably, because 5,000 years head start, but you can literally not move gold anymore. Like you gotta take a ship or something. How can you move gold, like lots of gold with like a plane? I mean, I'm talking trillions and trillions of gold. But again, it's very heavy to move around, and literally someone can just snatch your bag and take all your gold if you're moving it. Nobody can do that with crypto.
Year head start. After that, you got the Magnificent Seven. You got Nvidia, you got Apple, you got Microsoft, you got Amazon, you got Alphabet, you got Meta, and then just creeping in there, you've got some silver, and then you've got Saudi Aramco. But that's
the thing we're seeing with XRP and Bitcoin. With all these institutions coming in, 2022, they were selling everything for pennies because of, Terra Luna Classic and FTX. And we might not be ever seeing that anymore. We might never be seeing, Bitcoin below 70,000. This is just like non-financial advice, but like XRP below $2, it might never happen. Or it might, but then it goes back up and being bought by these big corporations, just like we see before in history, right?
Look at this. What you'll see is that the fastest horse in the race, the one that's actually moving up the leaderboard the fastest, is Bitcoin. 62% a year, ARR. Not for the
62%, little, nothing else pays out that much. Stock market pays like 3 to 5%, 7%, 62%. Again, richest people were made through Bitcoin, and it's just incredible. XRP literally grew 300% probably in the last year.
Past year, not for the past 4 years, not for the past 6 years, for the past 10, ever since it started, more than 62% a year. That's just the past 4 years though. And it is running to the top, and it will run past all the Magnificent Seven, and it will run past gold. And I'm going to show you.
I definitely see it, because as the community gets bigger, so it does like outperform basically everything. Like 10 trillion market cap is not that insane, like when you talk about it.
Why? It's not just the 7th largest, right? It's the fastest growing. It is the most popular in the world. Most popular asset. Bitcoin is spread across hundreds of millions of people. Probably 500 million people know what this is, and they're all very passionate about
Probably more than 5 million people
about it in a way that they're not
But there's still plenty of opportunities, like when I ask someone about XRP, they don't know what it is because they're not educated enough, or it's a new coin for them.
Passionate about maybe Saudi Aramco or Meta stock. It's the most interesting because something is happening every minute.
With some of these payment transactions, it doesn't seem insane for XRP, to become basically currency or like some sort of legal tender with the fast transactions, right, and zero cost. The government could save millions, if not
end of the
billions.
day. You know, it crashed at 90,000. People are losing their minds. Smashed through 100,000. My phone's ringing off the hook. It's always moving. Much more interesting than these other things as pure digital. Something that, if you can wire $1 billion from one iPhone to another Android phone between 6 billion people in a split second, that becomes very interesting and very digital, right? You can't digitize silver, you can't digitize gold.
Exactly.
These other things are just securities. You can't even take custody of your own security. You can't trade those securities on Saturday afternoon. So Bitcoin is pure digital asset.
That's what makes XRP so strong. You can trade it on your toilet. You can literally go on toilet and do day trading. You can't do that with gold. You got to set up a buyer, see if the cash is real, see if the transfer is true. Again, it's going to take you a ton of time. And then let's say there's some billionaires selling their gold or millions. You know, they will want to take an escrow fee. Basically, like, 2% of that is going to be lost. Crypto, 0.02% fee or 0.10% fee for selling your XRP. I mean, that's amazing.
It's useful. How useful? You can, if you need $1 billion in 5 minutes on Saturday afternoon and your life depended upon it, there's only one thing up there that will actually give it to you. Only one thing. People,
I guess it's like many things, like XRP could do that as well.
What's the consequence of that? Well, it's volatile, it's interesting. And lastly, it's global. The Magnificent Seven stocks are really just Western. They're United States, a little bit of Western Europe. Saudi Aramco is Middle East. You don't see any Chinese companies up there, right? And so Bitcoin is very, very rare combination of things that make it interesting to billions of people around the planet. Now, what happens when I put Bitcoin on my asset allocation chart here? Well, it just punches a hole in it, right? Like when I didn't put Bitcoin up there first because you wouldn't see anything else. Everything else is relatively uninteresting against 60%.
Again, what do people like most in this world? What do they love the most? What can you make that you cannot get anywhere else is 300% profit a year. 300%. If you bought XRP at $1 and it's now $3, or you bought it at 50 cents, so it was down 50 cents. So anyway, I'm not going to do the math, but you get the idea. People love money and institutions love money. Everybody loves money. Again, it's not the most important thing in the world because once you get money, you don't need it anymore. But this is the big factor we are seeing. People are getting bored of 7% returns. Look at the Gen Z. Where do they want to make the most money? Stock trading. They want to see $1 million, $2 million overnight. They are not having the time of their life by staying with their parents for 50 years and not getting any stock, not getting any money until they're like 35, 40. So, with the rising costs, people want to make money fast. They want to put $3,000 into XRP and turn it to $10,000 so they can sell it. And this is literally what I'm telling you guys. This is why people are buying crypto. It is easy money right now, but it might not be easy money in the future. But there is a small core audience that sees the potential of XRP. So thank you everyone new as well here and welcome.
You see up there there's an answer and then there's a bunch of noise. There's a signal and there's a bunch of noise. And if we look at it, that's 60% for 4 years. And when you look at it against this chart, this makes it much simpler. You have a bunch of money. Lockdowns come along in August of 2020. You can buy bonds, you can buy gold, you can buy real estate. All three of those don't beat the S&P index. They don't beat the hurdle rate. Gold is only half as powerful. If you capitalize your entire bank on bonds, well, you end up with Silicon Valley Bank, right? Your bank goes bankrupt. Bonds are an awful investment. The Magnificent Seven, good idea. Buy the 7 greatest companies in the world. Okay, good idea. That doubles the S&P, right? You can outperform if you just buy the good ones And then Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, if you can't beat Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg, and if you're not going to actually buy those stocks, how do you
Exactly. There's no other asset that can outperform XRP because the technology it's getting right now, again, with the government coming in, this is the big news that people are seeing.
Perform them? Well, Bitcoin is double. Bitcoin is 4 to 5 times better than the S&P index, right? It's a pretty compelling chart. You might say, well, it's just the last 4 years. But the truth is, Bitcoin's the best asset in 11 of the past 14 years. This has been the story for 15 years now. If you look at every other asset class, well, you've got one that's up 147% a year on average since 2011. The next best is 16. And everything else is just languishing, right? There's a signal.
Exactly. 16% again is not going to buy you a nice, juicy house that is, you know, the government is really having a huge problem right now with the expensive cost of people having to pay $1,000 and having no partner for an apartment. I think this is the biggest problem that we're seeing right now. Of course, people are greedy. Of course, the young generation is greedy when you have situations like that. And that's where really crypto, you know, blows up.
There, it's screaming at you.
Saylor confidently predict that explosive growth is looming on the horizon, as BlackRock and many other crypto giants are doing just that. Saylor reassure that a long expected surge awaits. By the end of 2025, there will be 1.1 billion active crypto wallets. The pace of growth is hard to comprehend, and it will be the fastest accumulation of wealth we have ever seen. This is the conclusion of a career's worth of research. And every single chart and piece of research leads to the same
principles. It's by far the easiest. You know, it's not easy to buy buildings or buy, you know, Paul McCartney's music rights or buy natural gas pipelines. But you can buy $20 a Bitcoin, 200, 2,000.
This is why digitalization, basically RWAs and tokenization is becoming such a big thing, because you can buy a fraction of something. Again, stuff in the real world is becoming expensive. Just buying a fraction of something makes people feel happier that they can own it. You cannot buy just like a fraction of real estate. They would throw you out of the building.
20 million, 200 million, 2 billion, 20 billion. And it doesn't matter how much you buy. You have the same exact property rights, the same exact asset as everybody else. This is very compelling. I say to people sometimes, you try to figure out what to buy to give to your kids or grandkids. Buy something that passes the Bernard Arnault test. Buy something that a person richer than you, more cultured than you, will want to buy from you in a decade, right? If the billionaires want it now, they're going to want your Bitcoin in a decade. If they want your Bitcoin in a decade, then the price is going up. It's not going down. You'll always find a willing market for it. 70 public companies right now are capitalizing on Bitcoin. In August of 2020.
Again, everyone is buying XRP right now. And retail has not even fully came in. That's the thing. Retail still has a very high chance of just showing up and swooping the remaining XRP, which could pump the markets.
That number was 0, and MicroStrategy was the first. And since then, we're starting to see a viral effect. This is an economic...
So yeah, MicroStrategy was just the first company, and like Michael Saylor to come in. I feel like there's going to be one for Ethereum, like the ETH treasury. And then we're going to be seeing one for basically XRP. We're going to be seeing one for Solana. We're going to be seeing one for Pepe. Again, it's just that Michael Saylor was the first one to take the cake, right? To sell with his MicroStrategy, basically. Michael Saylor selling his Bitcoin or the Bitcoin he bought to others. We're going to be seeing that for Ethereum and XRP once the regulation sets in.
Dynamic spreading virally around the world. Why? Because public companies can issue millions or billions of dollars of securities every week, and they can do it again, over and over again. So once a public company capitalizes on Bitcoin, they don't just buy 10 million a year or 10 million a week. We went to the market and we raised $1 billion in a convertible bond 1 week. It worked out well. The next week we did it again. The next quarter we did it again. The next quarter we did it again. Last quarter we started to raise $1.5 billion, and then we decided to make it 2, and then we decided end of the day to make it 3. So when you're playing with public company money, the amount of capital here is orders of magnitude more than you would see with private corporations. And as each one of these flip, they go from, if the miners flip, they go from selling Bitcoin to buying it. And another example, Mara up there, they went and did a convertible bond offering.
Again, this is just the start, right? So what's next for XRP? Treasuries. We have treasuries coming up, and we are going to be seeing, everything else that we have not been seeing for XRP. Government coming in for XRP, the treasury of the government. So there's going to be an XRP treasury that's going to be private. Then we're going to be seeing a government treasury. We're going to be seeing ETFs that, not just the ones we are seeing right now, 1, 2, 3. And this screams just bullish to me. We've been waiting for that for XRP for years, but the SEC wouldn't allow it. And it cost them a lot of money. But now with that being over, they have full credentials. They have everything shown out. All their assets, all their employees, how much they paid employees, what they were talking about. Again, there is right now a lot of issues.
Bond portfolio, 60% equity, 40% bond. Now Bitcoin's creeping in to be 1 to 3% of those portfolios. It'll move to 5 to 10% of those portfolios. As it does, the price of Bitcoin is going to skyrocket. These are the largest ETFs in the world. And so it's ranked from the number 1 in assets, the SPY, all the way down. You see where IBIT is on this chart, from nothing crawled up on the board. But what you can also see is that with the performance of IBIT, it's pulling, and Bitcoin, they're pulling so much capital.
So yeah, trillions of dollars coming in just a few months is only possible for crypto right now. Yes, you can see it in the stock market, but not in traditional sense. You don't see the same effects.
They're going to slurp the capital out of all the other ETFs. And I don't think it's unreasonable to forecast that IBIT may very well grow to be the biggest ETF in the world within 10 years at the rate it's going right now.
Yeah, so it's just like we are now in preparation stages for XRP and Bitcoin before any other cryptocurrency comes in. So just let that sink in. We are just in a preparation stage before the big governments come in, not the small ones, not El Salvador that bought Bitcoin. We are waiting right now for the big fish in the pond, right? We're waiting for the big sharks, the whales. Right now, we were small fish the last 10 years, but the next 10 years, it's going to be like a compounding growth for crypto. And I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited to see where crypto can go from here. And Michael Saylor was actually talking about this some more. It seems like that Michael Saylor is going big on Bitcoin, but again, he might be doing other stuff as well, just as BlackRock. It starts with Bitcoin and goes on to XRP, goes on to Ethereum, goes on to these big exchanges. And this is where XRP really wins. It's on the third on the line. After Ethereum, it comes XRP. So yeah, really good news coming up for as well. So yeah, he's literally a billionaire. They can invest any type of money they need, and this is extremely bullish to me. Extremely bullish. We never saw this before.
Bullish for Bitcoin.
Big fish don't live in the ponds, bro. They live in the ocean. But the thing is, right now, it's just the point I'm trying to make is XRP is third in line to get the ice cream. So right now, it's Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the third one is, basically XRP. So it was just Ethereum's time right now, and now it's all these smaller altcoins coming onto the market, and basically XRP being the big brother.
Forecast of Bitcoin itself, your forecast of crypto policy, and we're able to either buy or sell or hedge any of them in real time.
So yeah, once retail investors come in, it just makes sense to me. Like they will see, oh, I already missed out on Ethereum. I already missed out on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is $150K. Why would I buy Bitcoin? And Ethereum is like $5,000, $6,000. Why would I buy that. And then when they, most people won't understand what is market cap, how many tokens are in circulation. They think of it like stock, that all the stocks have same quantity. So what they will do is say, oh, XRP, it's only $4. That's a great price. So that's where it will really launch. That's what happened with Shiba Inu and why Shiba Inu exploded in price. Because people keep coming back, to Shiba Inu because it was so cheap. We're gonna hit $1. We're gonna hit $1. It's gonna make a lot of money. So these billionaires, they know what they're doing.
$1 billion gain for everybody else.
So again, this is like free money before the retail comes in. Again, sorry, I can't say free money because it's free money for these corporations, not for us investors, because they're literally selling Bitcoin and getting a lot of money and commissions out of that. So yeah, anyone, they're still building the ledger, they're still building the XRP utility. But once that is done, we just saw a huge theory on BlackRock working with Ledger. Again, it's all a preparation phase for the big players out there.
That outperforms the S&P index on a consistent basis. So if you are a public company, it's a very simple choice. There's one best asset and there is no second best asset. Bitcoin works for a public company because it's higher performance than the S&P and it's more volatile than the S&P and it's a commodity, and so you can go to 100% leverage, and every mathematical model you can possibly work through indicate.
The good thing is if you're good with trading with XRP, you can literally borrow from an exchange. Like a bank won't give you out a loan, but you can borrow money from an exchange and trade with their money. Like if you have $1, they will give you $75 or $25. And the good traders, they make instantly money. So that to me is crazy.
That the right answer is 100% Bitcoin. If you diversify that, all you're doing is bleeding off, diluting the volatility, which devalues the options. So you're going to destroy your own options market. And if you dilute the Bitcoin with anything else, you would destroy your performance. And so the first order answer is it makes no sense because the options are destroyed and the equity is destroyed. The second order answer is you can't build a Bitcoin-backed convertible bond or Bitcoin-backed convertible preferred stock or Bitcoin-backed fixed income preferred stock if you're not Bitcoin-backed. Right? And so
yeah, that's why they're building everything for Bitcoin. XRP at $10 was like a fantasy like a few years ago, but now it could be a possibility. Like SHIB is never going to hit $1 because there's so many tokens. But the thing with XRP is the liquidity is so strong, it's trying to push for $4, $5. It's literally, I don't think it's at peak yet. I don't think XRP is at the peak because nothing shows that it's fading off. If people don't sell at $340, I'm extremely bullish. But again, I could be wrong.
If Berkshire Hathaway, for example, were to buy $100 billion worth of Bitcoin tomorrow, they might have more Bitcoin than us, but they couldn't issue equity and credit instruments that have Bitcoin's performance because they would be diversified. And so at the end of the day, it makes sense for us to be 100% Bitcoin because it gives you the first order best result, and then all of the securities that we build inherit the volatility and the performance of Bitcoin, and we would in essence be destroying, we're crippling our own securities and crippling our own performance to diversify. I think we live in a world of abundance, and there are more messages and there's more entertainment.
Yeah, so this is the thing that Michael Saylor is trying to make. You can only pick out a few coins, and there's never going to be, all these meme coins, I think they're going to get oversaturated. There's no reason to keep them, right? If you can buy just a better asset. So why would you buy something on Pump Fun, something that just launched, if you want to buy something with a brand that's 12 years, 13 years old? So it doesn't make sense for them. That's why people keep buying the top 3 picks. They don't scroll down, go to top 300 coin unless they're gamblers, right? And this is why Ethereum, and XRP and Bitcoin are still the kings and probably will be kings for the next 20 years. because we never see these big institutions wanting to just gamble on meme coins. Like, they're not going to put $2 million, $3 million into meme coins. Ethereum going to $60 or Bitcoin to going to $0 would be cool, because I would be selling my house and everything I had to buy XRP at 1 cent again. So this was a big life regret. But the thing is, you can always make more money, right? Missing XRP at 0.001 cent hurts. I would have maybe I would have put a very small amount, maybe $1,000 would be like a lot of money, but you gotta think about the future and all the future potential that these coins have.
You can sit and you can watch Magnus Carlsen chess videos.
They will create tribes.
And you can almost watch an infinite number of commentators commenting on the same chess game by Magnus Carlsen.
That's the issue. There's so many choices right now. You can have literally 30 foods delivered to your home, but only one is going to be really healthy for you. Only one is going to be a really good pick.
If you want to go down that rabbit hole, we have $64 billion of Bitcoin. If the stock were to trade to $1 tomorrow, well, we wouldn't sell the equity, duh. We would just...
You have infinite supply of entertainment. You have infinite supply of probably properties. And, well, not an infinite supply, but like a good supply of properties is very limited. A bad supply of like entertainment is infinite. And that's what's the issue is in the real world. But with crypto, the good thing is there's only certain part that you can own. So if you want to buy, if the big corporations, they want to buy everything, they literally cannot. Because at a certain point, they will not be able to. They will have to ask people to buy it from there. And that's why they're buying so much from the exchanges, right?
Sell the preferred stock, we would be selling stock over collateralized 10-to-1 against Bitcoin with a 10% yield, and we would generate billions of dollars of gains.
Again, they want to take it all. They want to buy everything at a very cheap price. That's what they've been doing since 2022. Why do you think they were buying it at 18,000 Bitcoin, Ethereum 1,600? I was reading the news and I didn't believe it. 3 years later, here we are. So that was one of my biggest regrets. Maybe quitting, YouTube for 3.5 years. But the important factor is the markets keep moving. The markets don't forget.
So, you sell a preferred stock. If someone's stupid enough to short my stock to $1, I would sell $1 billion of the preferred and I would buy back the common stock, right? And I would just recapitalize the company, right? And then the common stock would fly through the roof, and then they would be complaining that we bought the thing that they were selling. So operating companies can do this. Trust.
So yeah, he's basically saying that you can fake the prices with, companies. You can potentially like never fail your company and stuff like that. But the real thing is it literally shows you the results. If people want to see XRP at $5, you cannot fake. You cannot fake buy something, right? You cannot make up that Bitcoin will hit 150K. The money has to come in. So with some stuff, you can fake it and kind of like make different prices. But here the market cap is literally demand, market, buy and supply and demand.
Companies, trust funds, ETFs, they can't do this. A closed-in trust can't do what I described. So the way that I see the world and the way that we see the world is when someone irrationally misprices something, then if it's mispriced too low, we buy it. And if it's priced at a massive premium, we might sell it, not to drive the price down, but just to capture the premium. And we construct all the preferred so that I sell this preferred that people want US dollar yield. I sell this preferred to people that want convertible. I sell this preferred to people that want Japanese yield. I'll sell this thing to someone that might want a euro yield. I will create this for people that want leverage. And so we're creating optionality into the credit.
Again, yeah, as Michael Saylor is saying, Bitcoin for him is basically just the start. He's going to be moving to other cryptos for sure, and he's going to be moving by market volume. And literally 3 days ago or 4 days ago, by the time you're watching this video, it depends, XRP hit a certain volume of Bitcoin. So where are you going to make more money? Selling the golden shovel? So all these big players from Bitcoin are moving now to XRP to sell services for XRP, like transactions. They're selling, all these big institutions are selling different things instead of Bitcoin, because it just makes more sense of them. It's right now XRP is at a huge hype level, and it kind of makes, a financial standpoint sense to sell what most people are interested in. So here we are seeing basically these big institutions and billionaires coming to build applications for XRP, accepting store payments for XRP. That's what I saw with SHIB. And you can kind of see the same pattern here. All these partnerships, they're going to XRP. They're not going to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is getting bought up by institutions, but, we will need Ripple's permission, to do a lot of stuff. The funny thing is right now there's over 900 employees working for XRP. And there's some coders and some stuff working for Bitcoin. But the thing is, Ripple is being actively developed. And I don't see that with Bitcoin, for example. It is being actively developed. It is having lots of updates, core updates. The issue is Ripple can always be upgraded and follow the tech.
Correlated to different forecasts, like your forecast of interest rates, your forecast of Bitcoin volatility, your forecast of Bitcoin itself, your forecast of crypto policy. All of those futures are changing all the time. We're straddling that future, and we're able to either buy or sell or hedge any of them in real time, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, or 1 billion, right? And sometimes you do nothing for you could do nothing for a month or 2 months, and then you could do $2 billion in 2 hours, right? So
that's the power of XRP. 50 cents to $3.5. Literally gave you $3 free in just a few months.
Maybe you'll do something, consistently, but we built the business to straddle the crypto economy and the traditional finance economy.
Again, 2015, 2017, 2019, these were the years where institutions were not even looking at crypto. All the banks denied crypto. Now the banks are joining. XRP was not even on any exchanges because of the lawsuit. So now that it's listed on exchanges, it gives them opportunity to do these over-the-counter transfers, which are billions of dollars or millions of dollars. XRP couldn't do that 5 years ago. So there's a ton of volume coming in. There's a ton of whales trading because otherwise they couldn't trade on exchanges. And guys, trading, very big part of the crypto game. A lot of people are making their full-time living trading.
And to monetize volatility. And we're pretty thoughtful about how we do it. If you look at Bitcoin today, Bitcoin's digital gold, it's digital cash. What does it mean? It's a bearer instrument, a monetary instrument. What do I think is going to happen? I think it's going to keep growing from $1 trillion to 10 trillion to 100 trillion. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger in the capital stack. And I think other forms...
So yeah, again, getting started with Ripple, basically, we are in the early stages of Ripple building the foundations for XRP, and again, it took them 12 years. So I like to say early stages because sometimes this technology, they built 2015, they just started with some ideas. 2016, they launched their own, platform, ICO, from what I remember, to raise the prices for XRP and the costs. Then over 12 years, even with a lawsuit, they raised 500 million employees, probably will raise more employees in the future. And again, who's paying for all these employees? Part of it, I guess, is potentially cryptocurrency. And the other part, I'm guessing, is all these partnerships and all the services they provide for banks, institutions. Because who pays a lot of money? Do you think it's the retail investors? No, when you work with a business, businesses have infinite money glitch.
Of money, fiat currencies will continue. You're going to have sovereign debt, corporate debt, other type municipal debt. As long as you have cities, they'll issue debt. As long as you have countries, they'll issue debt. As long as you have companies, they'll issue debt. As long as you have families and they want to buy a house, they'll issue debt, mortgage-backed debt. You're going to have all these forms of credit.
Debt.
When people cash settle, the settlement network will be Bitcoin. Was the world built on a gold standard in the 19th century? Yes.
The age of gold is over. It's only high because it got a 5,000 year head start. 5,000 years. If I was here 5,000 years, I could be waiting 5,000 years and just buy all the stocks in XRP. Of course, I would be the richest person. That's the thing with gold. People are saying gold isn't outdated. It's literally backed by banks, but banks are now looking for other payment platforms. They're looking for alternatives to invest.
Gold. But what circulated? Sovereign debt. Will the world be on a Bitcoin standard in the 21st century? Yes. What will circulate? Every form of credit of every credit-worthy counterparty, and then on top of that, equity, layers of equity from public company, private equity, and you'll have all sorts of other collectibles. I don't see a world where that disappears. I don't see a world where it needs to disappear.
Like, yeah, it doesn't mean that gold, we will start throwing gold in the trash and it will be worth $0. It just means that it might be replaced or it might be like flipped over. So both can be used. Bitcoin doesn't have to become world currency, but it should become an alternative when people, can't pay the bills, can't make money, or when they want to invest and keep it for their future children. It should become an alternative to stocks. I think that's a pretty fair opinion of me. Like, we are waiting for that for such a long time, and you should make the decision if you hold some or not the banks.
So
and now the banks can hold crypto. They can literally hold XRP. They couldn't buy a single penny before of Bitcoin. Now they can hold it. Jerome Powell just confirmed it. Again, billions of dollars coming. Who has infinite money? Banks. Banks can buy crypto.
See a world where there are many types of assets.
Before, they don't want to even touch crypto. No crypto transaction. No exchanges. Nothing. And we're seeing this, in this year and next year is going to be like the crypto financial phase, like crypto regulation. Again, Trump is going to be still in power for another 3.5 years. 3.5 years, and look at what happened after 8 months or one year of crypto regulation. This thing takes time. And now we're seeing it just getting started.
Of the financial universe of the 21st century emerging is Bitcoin. If BlackRock holds 3% or 2% of the Bitcoin, or if Strategy holds 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% of the Bitcoin, it doesn't matter, because
the governments are going to come in and they're going to swoop in all the cryptocurrencies. They're going to be buying at a very much discount rate. They're already, they're just getting the green light, and that's what I'm really excited for. So guys, smash that like button if you want more. We have XRP payments explode, rate cuts in July. We need to see rate cuts. Jerome Powell, give us rate cuts so we can see XRP to $20. Jerome Powell, I need you to do the rate cuts now. So that would be nice. I'm pretty sure he was talking about being fired. And guys, I really appreciate all your efforts on this channel. Look, this stuff ain't cheap. This camera isn't cheap. But again, I don't need anything. I just like talking about content. Having your time, me giving you this info, is what I promised myself to do. In 2021, I saw people that didn't know what they were buying. And me explaining this to you basically gives me fulfillment to explain you what actually is going on when you buy a cryptocurrency. Because what I saw in 2021 is people bought Shiba Inu and they didn't know what they were buying, right? They just know they held a token. So that's the real important factor to me. Not money, not any financial incentive. But anyway, we got to check what Jerome Powell is talking about.
What about Charles trying to debunk the 600 million ADA accusation? Not feeling.
So yeah, look at this. This is now he's falling for grace. I'm trying over generic. So if we jump right into the news, XRP payments explode. So this is the first thing that we're seeing.
He also said that there's been potential or substantial softening in the labor market, right? So if the labor market's starting to soften up, we got to lower rates. Why? Because then businesses can rehire because it's cheaper to do so. He also said that the economy was poised to grow at a much slower pace this year. This is the thing, okay? What's going on right now is you've got some bigs in the Fed saying, yo, it's time to cut rates. Now, what is Jerome Powell saying? He's saying, yo, we're waiting for the data.
So yeah, Jerome Powell doesn't want to cut the rates yet because he's afraid that if he cuts the rates like 3 points, it could be that we are seeing cryptocurrency basically jump sky high if we see the rate cuts. But Jerome Powell is afraid that we could still be in a recession, and Trump is saying this recession doesn't exist. Okay, I just pumped the crypto markets. Is that a recession, right? Look at how much crypto markets are pumping. But Jerome Powell wants to be like conservative. He wants to feel safe. Again, look at this, 95% we're getting a cut because also Trump wants it. And if Trump wants it, Trump's going to get it, right? Because it's going to be good for the market. But look, no change 95% and ease 5% and hike 0%. So the thing here is they're thinking about firing Jerome Powell for that way. So is Jerome Powell going to get fired? I don't know. I think it's very hard to fire someone in power like that.
We have, everyone, a 60% chance that we're going to have a cut. Now,
yeah, so this just changed, like 60% chance for a cut. Again, this was after Jerome Powell was basically confirmed to be fired. Again, if they can do it fast enough, maybe he's going to be pressured. Again, this could be good for the crypto markets. I don't want to see anyone being fired or anything, but just think about it. Rate cuts usually made cryptos like XRP explode. So yeah, it would be good. You know, it's basically like a sacrifice. And Trump is very vocal about it. It would not be only good for crypto, but also the stock market. But Jerome Powell, I also understand his point. Guys, we've been in a 3-year recession where people lost their houses, where people lost their jobs post-COVID. People lost everything. Banks were literally failing. You know, and that's not that far ago. That was 3 years ago. People entered depression. People were saying that this is going to be the end of financial system. Well, we somehow recovered suddenly, right? And nobody predicted that. So that's the important factor here.
Hovering around those what everyone September expectations. So once we get past the July meeting, we got to start asking ourselves, is the market going to start pricing in a quarter cut? All right, I'm going to give you some XRP news that's going to help you out with a ton of stuff. And this is why people love the channel. No hopium, no BS. I give you the straight stuff, and I help.
On-chain activity surges past $1 billion in transfers. Like, look at that. That means the billionaires and millionaires are trading. Guys, we cannot get to this volume unless it's rich people coming in. And exactly as we were talking 5 minutes ago, rich people are in fact coming into XRP. So yeah, pretty big news.
You decide for the action. XRP price
will be big news data play. That would definitely be very good news and welcome. I definitely agree with this. This would be the biggest indicator. And again, if the news is bad and we get rate cuts, oh boy, we could be heading into a recession, right?
rally strengthens as on-chain activity surges past 1 billion in transfers. On July 18th, XRP posted over 1 billion in transfer volume across accounts, the highest in more than a month. That's actually pretty juicy. Okay, now here's what you want to see. What do payments and accounts look like? Well, I've got this up on the screen. And again, we can track all this stuff. As you can see, payments really aren't going up over time.
So yeah, it seems like it's getting more of whales. So if you look at these institutions here, number of active accounts is the same, but it seems like either these whales are waking up, and that's exactly what I'm telling you. XRP burn is not a meme. It's a real thing, guys. Look, XRP burned. Okay, how much is burned per day? $15,000. I guess that's 3,000 XRP, right? So some days it's actually $50,000. So I'm guessing this is maybe like $9,000 per day. But again, this is $9,000 a day removed forever. These $9,000 a day will potentially jump up in the future. So just think about that these burns, $9,000 is a lot of money when it adds up. Plus, we could be getting more.
Now, that being said, a lot of that can change when what? When the Clarity Act passes and people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, people right now are feeling scared to use this because they're afraid, what if my digital identity is tied to this? Like, that's why it's so bad right now, why nobody is using these layer 2, layer 3, because there's no point. They can just use the banks. But once the transactions come in, once they know that they can get paid their salaries through crypto and exchange it to real life money, because what happens if you try to exchange your crypto to real life money? You get a ton of problems, right? In some countries, like all these stuff, because they still don't know what crypto is. There's still a lot of regulatory and legal issues. But they're trying to change that, and they're trying to get people paid on the ledger itself, on this blockchain, where the payments are fast, where the payments are automatic. Like, people will have little companies will probably set up XRP and send each month, and they can probably fire a few accountants and save money that way. They don't have to pay these transfers, right? It makes total sense for anyone in XRP Street. And again, once big companies use this could be millions and millions of dollars coming in. So look at that, 3,334 XRP burned, which is $10,000 per day.
That, oh man, the burn rate of XRP is going to be freaking huge. No, the burn rate actually sucks. On most days, we're burning less.
Okay, so just so you can ease that in, every single month, XRP has $300,000 less of supply. This is like if someone threw their all $300,000 of money in a bag and burned it on the street and let people watch. If you ever watched Mr. Robot, that's exactly like that clip. They pour out the money, $300,000, like this big envelope, and they throw it on the street and they let it people watch it burn. So this money is going to be gone forever. So just to tell you how much money is in XRP, we're never going to be seeing this money.
Than 3,000 XRP a day. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 3,000 a day. What are you going to do with it? That's not burning that much, but that's why. Because XRP...
It adds up. It will add up.
...is so cheap in order to move money. So don't think of the burn rate as something that's going to, what everyone, cause hardcore price action. My point about this is you're going to see a lot of articles and a lot of news agencies promoting this hopium BS. And let me share with you a super secret. All right. Check this out, all right? There is a publication out there called Times Tabloid. If you see an article from them, bullshit. Kid you not. 99.99% of the time, it's BS hopium. And I swear, Times...
That's what I'm seeing in XRP right now is people say, you know, that it's going to have 100 scale target, you know, but the issue is what I do on this channel is actually see the real news. Like XRP price prediction after monster 40 billion inflow in a week. Expert reveals XRP's real supply. Over 85% locked or lost. See? So all of the supply is locked or lost. Again, a lot of it is locked because it's owned by the company.
Tabloid is owned by people on Twitter that also promote the BS. Here, this is how you can tell. Here's an article from Times Tabloid. Erag Crypto predicts $37 XRP after spotting this indicator.
I mean, guys, we got to get to $10 first before we see like $37. You know, keep the hopium down. So the only trade news price has muscle memory. May I ask what kind of trader you are? It's speculation. I only see what's in the market. Exactly. This is speculation. This is not true.
All right, let's see what else did Times Tabloid publish.
Like this is speculation from my side, but once we get more activity, that would be very nice.
XRP just entered its parabolic phase. Analysts...
Personally, I don't trade, so I trade only like with $20, but seeing this news, like, I guess it's for clicks, right? And you got to really check that we got to get to $5 before we ever get to $37. Like, there has to be a ton of burn for that.
That $100 log scale target. Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Here's another one from them. Software dev projects $59 XRP based on Ripple's Swift target. Market strategists predict timeline for XRP to hit 6.
Yeah, so seeing retail buying the tops at the 1 hour check, Bitcoin its volume at the top. Yeah, and I'm seeing that for XRP as well. Like so many are buying and trading right now. That's what's crazy. Literally everyone is buying at this point. They're buying up and down, which is very nice, actually. They're buying a very big amounts. And this is what happened, you know, like years ago, you couldn't trade XRP, but finally you can do that.
Shit. All right, overall in the crypto...
You can finally do that, and that's why big whales are in XRP right now. They're buying and selling crypto. And when you're buying and selling crypto, you're basically making, you know, you're talking about it. It's creating hype, and that's just extremely bullish.
The market, things are looking hot as the altcoin season is 52 out of 100. But in the beginning, what did I mention? Doge. And the reason Dogecoin is important is because...
Like, everything is creating tons of volume right now, and this is, to me, is just bullish. Like, everything we're talking about is a good indicator. And people not selling, you know, their XRP at $3.4 is bullish as well. People not selling at 116,000. Remember how many people said that they will sell 100,000 Bitcoin? Never happened. Never happened. You know, people were saying as soon as Bitcoin is 100,000, I'm selling all of it. They waited, 110,000 came. They didn't sell. 100,000 came, never sold. 120,000 came, they still don't sell. And this is just bullish, right? Because if this is the price of Bitcoin and people don't sell, when will they sell? Is it 150,000? Is it 170,000? Nobody knows. You know, the future market drives prices now, you know? I agree. We need spot support price.
XRP,
Yeah, fully agree.
XRP hit its parabolic phase, $100 log scale.
We want to see $100 XRP. We got to be seeing plenty of trades. Plenty. Like that's what I'm checking on the BitUnix right now, where I'm partnered. Like they're giving me ton of info on what's gonna pump and not. Like what's trading right now. You never know what's gonna pump because it's very hard to predict. But these rate cuts, bullish.
Girlfriends.
Like for me, it's bullish. Like historically, data proven bullish.
So again, if you're following channels out there and they're like, bro, they're going to cut it 100 basis points. Bro, emergency meeting. There's no fucking emergency meeting. They sure as hell ain't cutting it 100 points because guess what they're doing this month? 95.3% chance that what? They're going to pause. Do you believe Charles in his, audit? I don't know. The dude lied about rubbing shoulders with people.
Again, there's plenty of non-XRP news here, but what we are seeing right now is there are big whale players wanting to enter a market, but they cannot because of the regulatory oversight. So that is my opinion. Again, this is not like any facts or anything, but from what I'm seeing is the big institutions cannot buy it yet because they do not have the green light. And I think the bill by September could really pump the bill that everybody was waiting for.
Just like that.
So yeah, let's check this guy out. So yeah, let's check this guy. Ripple holders are paying attention to this huge week ahead. So this Crypto ZX usually gives like pretty good news that affects the price as well. Again, speculations. This is just speculations that I'm doing on my channel. It's all theories. So RSI is so overbought. That is the thing with XRP. I am doing speculating, right? And the thing is, we never saw XRP's prices over a lawsuit. So the historic data shows that XRP will drop, and we kind of saw that, right? But everything before that, since 2020 or when the lawsuit was, is basically a drop for XRP. It crashed. And I am really betting on the South Korean markets to pump it because they don't have Terra Luna Classic to pump it anymore. I'm not sure how far it will drop, who knows, but historically it has been shown to, basically drop to 30 cents and all this lawsuit really been dropping it so much. But now at 355, I'm not sure what will happen. I didn't expect the price to go up that much. I didn't expect the price to go to 355. So we are seeing the prices literally pump at this level is just absolutely screaming like good news. But who knows? The prices could stop now, could stop tomorrow, and if I had the data, would be nice.
When comparative. Now if you're looking at the market cap, 203.4.
Yeah, so XRP right now is going to 30. Support at 2.7 bids on spot. You don't want to lose to 3, but you can wig down. I fully agree. It seems like, XRP is going to be opening on a pretty crazy market because today is Sunday, so traders are not trading. I'm not super good at trading, so it's not like my main source of income, but it definitely seems like, something is going to be happening over the weekend. I can't say if it's bullish or bearish because I didn't check enough. But at 3.68 and people not selling at 3.45, it's weekend. So I'm gonna wait for the Asian Korean markets to wake up and see where it goes from here, right?
Channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research.
What I do when I'm not streaming, I'm mostly streaming. I'm watching news every day. So the thing is, like, I'm not a full-time trader, but what I'm doing really good at is I am having a different approach at checking XRP's price. So the good thing I'm doing is actually checking the news. The news is the best source of information. And again, there's macro news, micro news, macro news, whatever you want to call it, bearish news, bullish news. But that's the real factor here, right? You can make plenty of money. So yeah, actually I am live on YouTube every single day. That does as well.
When you are investing in cryptocurrency. So Fed Chair Powell is set.
So yeah, everything we are hearing about this news is already priced in. That's why I don't trade ever, or I just trust my luck, because all of this news that we're seeing priced in. But it's basically speculation at that point, and if you're a bit lucky, you can make some money. How much money? It really depends how big you go on the position and where you go from there, right? Because if you see news like that, Ethereum, being bought up 185 million. So yeah, it's basically like speculation at that point. But again, I don't do many trades.
XRP until a certain time. Ripple Labs expects to use XRP to continue incentivizing market makers to offer tighter spread between currency pairs in exchange for XRP and to sell XRP to institutional investors. And that's starting to happen at a greater scale. And this was announced by Brad Gerlinghouse on December 7, 2017.
So yeah, the good thing about like news and trading is if you basically trade on the news, sometimes there's macro news that can affect the trades. But again, if you know how to read the data, it's easy money from there. I'm really bad at reading candles and everything like that, But when I see like news like this, Ripple Labs expects to use XRP to continue incentivizing markets makers to offer tighter spreads between currency pairs, exchange for XRP, and to sell XRP to institutional investors. Like, that is not going to change XRP's price by $5, $10, $10. But when you see, for example, XRP getting signed a government bill, you can basically kind of speculate that it will go up, in the near future. And that's the bullish news for me. That's the big news that we are seeing. But this news every single day, I feel like it is pumping the data for the retail investors. It probably is. Because if someone sees this news every single day and sees good news, it shows them like, ooh, this is actually pretty good. XRP is getting news. So payments begin August 1st. And again, July 22nd, August, September, we are going to be seeing basically Korean markets entering big.
December 7, 2017, the last bull market top, pretty much the top for XRP was in January of 2018, but pretty much we're getting close,
So yeah, there's no real world usage for XRP yet, but the thing is the technology is evolving. That's the good thing. It's not just, gambling anymore like 2016, 2017. There is a real world utility that could be created. Again, banks want to work with it. Banks want to work with crypto companies now because it's making sense for them. So XRP is not solving a payment problem, it's solving a liquidity problem.
A shout out to Vincent, XRP is not solving a payment problem, it's solving a liquidity problem. 14 years ago, they asked the question how we create unlimited liquidity without causing domestic inflation. That's where a token which provides $100 trillion of liquidity comes into play. You can never sell $100 trillion or buy it, but you can sure, exchange it for stable coins at a speed and rate that matches supply, not faster or slower. If you truly understand this, then you are ready to unlock the future potential of value of XRP, not financial advice, of course, but
all right, so I don't know if I agree with this post, but this RLUSD transactions on the Reddit require XRP for fees. And again, this has kind of pumped XRP's prices a bit. So, we have said that we have a system ready for the banks for XRP. I guess it's mostly government oversight. So once the government oversight is done, that could be the bullish indicator for XRP. So that's what I'm really, really bullish on. Is not that XRP is going to pump. I'm really bullish on basically XRP becoming the next big thing to work with banks, because that's what's going to really create adoption, right? And it might take 10 years to achieve that.
Unofficial all-time high that was recorded, you could see, that level is now playing as a support for us. So, in unofficial standard, we've already reached an all-time high.
So yeah, the thing I like to say is, sometimes I'm wrong, but plenty of times I only like to talk about stuff I'm right. So I like to be proven wrong, because on the stuff I'm right about, that's what people come back to my YouTube channel, because I'm right on a lot of things. So who knows what will happen? We don't know anything at this point. Where I never expected, to be honest, XRP at 3.5. When I saw it for 1 cent, I thought, okay, this is going to 50 cents max. And that was 2016, right? 2017. But now we're seeing $3.5. The market is going crazy. There's too much money in this world. When you see something going from $2 to $3.5 in what? In a few days, few weeks, it just tells you there's too much money in this world right now, and that's why the big institutions are coming in. That's why they're joining. So anything could happen at this point. So who knows? Like I could be totally wrong. I'm not holding a huge position. There is plenty of bad scenarios that could happen in crypto. And we saw FTX. And the good thing is to always be open-minded that XRP could crash to zero. It's an open-minded scenario. Could it happen? There is a non-zero chance because you never know what might happen basically. So I'm not too smart for that though. So we can check here that he's talking about XRP.
4% away just back on Friday, but we have seen, look at the way this support played out for us. So the price of XRP has been holding really, really nicely, and we are literally just about a 5% move for us to break towards.
So yeah, XRP holders and retail investors are holding it. They are holding it very strong. They like it a lot. And I think it's looking good right now for the prices, unless we get like a black swan event, which would be bad for XRP.
The new yearly high, and then after that, pretty much we could start heading towards that all-time high that a lot of people are waiting for at $3.83. I'm very, very impressed with the way things are holding, and in order.
Yeah, this is definitely just speculation. So there's no proof that this will happen, but I'm hoping is right. That would be nice. Again, looking at charts, anything can happen. The price predictions, there's plenty of articles that are saying XRP is going to go to $15. XRP is going to $37. A lot of the times we saw that with Shiba Inu. Never happened. We were waiting for SHIB to explode to $1. Never happened. Because, the market cap, if you want to get to XRP to $20, you have to have a lot of positive news, a lot of positive updates. Again, you gotta really change the system to see that. So I don't chart myself. So yeah.
Of XRP and USDC. I love the headline here, but you gotta write it to bring.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, surely worked.
What do you know about XRP coming week? Bearish? Well, I'm bullish on the biggest thing I'm bullish on is probably government signing and getting some crypto. That would be nice. Not using your still and not taking. I'm taking trades, but I'm not a good trader. That's the issue. I'm way better at reading the news and speculating. So I am doing a small trading though. I am learning, but I'm not learning enough. I mean, every single day, put 1 hour into learning XRP trades and how it works. And then that would be make me a black belt. So doing the small stuff once I get more time. Already started yesterday. So I really like that. I actually enjoy trading a lot with XRP. That's the fun thing that I have been doing right now. So that is something I'm doing. I'm doing from $25 I think to a very high amount. I think it's too little though. It's a challenge anyway. So I'm trying from $25 to basically $100. So that is something I am learning, and it's hard. It's hard to make 400%, but anything is possible in crypto if you have the right skills. Congrats. So yeah, I'm just gonna check this. Nasdaq listed thumbs up. Media proves $200 million invested in XRP. Now I'm thinking $200 million, a lot of money. Planted into XRP USDC and more as a part of an expanded crypto treasury strategy.
For me, Nasdaq listed thumbs up media approves $250 million investment into XRP and other digital assets, right? Let's scroll down here and get the details specifically. So they have announced that its board has formally authorized the company to expand its crypto holdings beyond Bitcoin. So we have another company that was holding Bitcoin in their treasury. The company recently announced in a press release that it intends to make significant investments into XRP, USDC.
So I'm guessing how much of this money is actually going to go into XRP. $250 million is a lot of money. How much of that is going to be into USDC? How much are they going to keep like $10 million into XRP, Ethereum, Solana, and Doge? So they're going to go beyond Bitcoin. But this is what I've been telling you guys. Crypto right now is just getting started. Hey, from Niagara Falls, Canada, we help. Here's our base. Welcome to the channel as well, Imarez. Spelled your name correctly. But anyway, 250 million XRP, USDC, and more is a very bullish sign. It means, again, a lot of money coming in. Means also that these big companies, they don't want to only hold Bitcoin. They want to hold something else. They want to hold, the next big gainer. And could this be the next big gain? Maybe. And there's a chance, like Bitcoin right now has been the biggest performer. So if we look at market cycles, this could be it. Could be a nice, could be Ripple USD, could be very, very nice for profits.
Ethereum,
so yeah,
Solana,
right.
Dogecoin, as well as Litecoin.
So yeah, the good thing about XRP, it's getting traded by a lot of whales, which creates big market charts, which creates a lot of volume, which creates a lot of social activity.
Well, I guess
we gotta get approved the XRP ETFs. So that would be awesome. Like XRP ETFs is what I'm waiting for.
Still alive. In order to achieve a diversified $250 million digital asset portfolio. A couple things here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a multi-chain world, and this is a multi-chain game. This company is not just investing in XRP, but they're hedging their bet with a stablecoin, the leader in DeFi and Web.
I mean, why would you do the stable? I guess you get returns like 8%, 10% a year. You get a very good returns on holding your USDC. Then you get Ethereum, Solana, and Doge, and LTC. So I guess Ethereum is a good bet, right, for them because it's making a lot. And then you have Litecoin. Again, Litecoin has not been hearing anything for years. Solana and Doge. So that is going to be very interesting. How much of that money of 250 million is going to go straight into XRP?
3 and Ethereum, its emerging rival in the form of Solana, and a couple OG proof of work assets in the form of Doge and Litecoin. What could they possibly see coming down the pipeline for Dogecoin and Litecoin? That's my question. But we got a quote here from their CEO, Robert Steele, emphasizing the decision as it comes at a key moment in the crypto industry timeline. That is very true. He says, as the U.S. federal government moves towards more crypto-friendly policies and greater regulatory clarity, Thumbs Up is committed to remaining at the forefront of this transformative technology by diversifying our portfolio of crypto companies to gain wider exposure to the market as a whole. So dig this, y'all.
So basically they want to make more money for the shareholders, and they have a shareholding company and feel like that the crypto market will boom. So they're willing to bet $250 million on the crypto market booming and XRP going up. So literally at this price, so this news is very recent, at $3.5, they're saying, hey, maybe this price will go up even more, and we are willing to bet this money to our $250 million that Dogecoin and all these crypto assets will actually explode. Would be nice though. There's some real news here.
Financial advice, this is just me. But I'm taking note of these companies as we find them. These publicly listed companies.
Yeah, so a lot more companies are coming into this hype wave, basically. They're coming and getting stronger.
Who are backing their treasuries with crypto assets. I'm definitely diving into those. There's another one, Diversified Investment Corporation. They have the $150 million Solana backed treasury. They're also listed on Robinhood. I think that is
Ethereum treasuries, lots of money coming in. Again, all these companies, as I was telling you guys 2 months ago, too much money coming in, and too much money being printed. So where does this all money go? Into the crypto markets. Because what gives better returns than crypto? Basically crypto, nothing. Probably like the stock market on its best month gives like 20% a year, 30% a year, if we're really, really lucky. but crypto gives literally 300%, you know, and they're betting on the US government saying, hey, yo, we are going to enter as well, but we are going to enter after you enter. So, you know, they're basically hoping that the US government is going to come there. You know, I like that he has a little icon here, crypto assets are unregulated, because it is a big risk. It is a big risk to buy, you know, it's not like a great thing, but $250 million, and even if 100 million is XRP, it would definitely move the markets. Maybe 25 cents, 20 cents. I didn't do the math, but it would definitely help.
There are a number of crypto companies that are publicly listed that you can look at. That's going to be my strategy too. I'm definitely leveraging crypto related stocks against cryptos. So right now I'm owning Circle, Coinbase, just picked this up, as well as the Diversified Investment Corp. There's another company called Applied Blockchain.
Like they tell all of us that this news after. I still think, you know, the issue is, even if we know all this news beforehand, it's mostly like extra content. The thing is, they tell us this now, but they still have to pump 100 million. So for me, it's still bullish news. It's not like somebody will buy because of this news, but it just tells you, hey, another 100 million crypto entered the market, right?
A platform that empowers users to earn cash for sharing branded content on social media. Payments are made via PayPal and other leading digital channels. In parallel with the growth of its ad tech, Thumbs Up has strategically expanded its treasury to include other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I see. I agree with that.
Also developing a patent-pending lifestyle AI agent marketplace, which aims to revolutionize lifestyle planning. So this company here's got layers to it. Very interesting. Ad tech platform, AI, now you're getting into crypto, social media payments through PayPal. This to me shows that the treasury was just the first step. We could hear a lot coming from Thumbs Up in the coming months, guys. But let's talk about their...
I'm really just waiting for the government update.
Connections.
I should be learning some XRP trades, to be honest. That would be nice use of my time. But yeah, this is the most bullish news I am on. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of people seeing that. But last week, the company announced that Donald Trump has acquired approximately 350,000 shares, and investment value at nearly $4 million. Again, why would they be buying if they weren't bullish? Like, why would Trump family buy if they didn't value crypto? Trump Jr., his brother Eric, reportedly served as advisors to Dominari Securities, which arranged a recent $6 million private placement in Thumbs Up Media. So they bought their share of XRP, which is funny. And even though precise allocation details are still unknown, shares are trading at $13, according to Google Finance, reflecting an 84% gain over the past month. This was bullish for them, right? And $250 million is kind of a pretty nice moving market strategy. So pretty good overall. For me, that is very nice. Have to check that. We'll check this. Thank you. So what else do we have on the plan? Our eyes on the prize. Right now, I really like watching billionaire stock talk about XRP. That is one thing I really enjoy. We've been seeing billionaires talk about day and night about Bitcoin, XRP. It literally gives them, it's a very small chance you can hear someone talk about crypto. Otherwise,
Bitcoin jumped to $107,000 end of June. A new monthly close all-time high. Again,
I'll take that. Yeah, thank you.
Predicted. I think there will be many more all-time highs in the months to come. Of course, we're still in the bull market. The bull market continues. The question I hear a lot is, why isn't the price much higher than it is right now? Because Michael Saylor is buying, MicroStrategy, there's huge inflow in the ETFs. So why is the price not higher than it is right now?
Yeah, so basically the issue with XRP and Bitcoin is that it was not a lot of people understand why it pumps, and this is basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to explain the prices and the reasons and how the market cycles work and where it goes from here and what the billionaires are talking about. Tom Lee has been very vocal about Ethereum being the next big thing, but I feel like XRP will have more, of the big players joining in as well. Because of exactly that, I'm feeling bullish on the government coins. And yeah, with trading, you can make a lot of money. That is very true. But here's the thing, why are these big institutions buying, right? Because they are betting on being the big player, on having easy profit from that. So sometimes they announce it after they buy. But why do we see every single week these institutions? So I'm sure it's pure speculation. And if you look at the weekly time frame, you definitely see that. But you can actually see them buying, after a week as well.
The end of 2026, that's this line.
I'm looking at that.
Looking at this chart, I think it go to the stock flow level.
So yeah, Plan B actually gave a great prediction for July as well for the prices. Just pretty, he's actually a very good trader. He predicted the Bitcoin 100K when nobody believed him, when the Plan B was so low. So yeah, traders are literally one of the smartest people on planet Earth probably. They could make jet fuel.
And at least go to this 200K level, but 40% thinks otherwise. So that's very interesting. And I mean, it's not a
a lot of people don't agree with his price rates, but they were literally proven as you can see here.
Percent thinks otherwise. So that's very interesting. And I mean, it's not a crazy thought.
Check it out.
Because you see this curving of this line. So they think in diminishing returns. So they think this curve will flatten and in fact not go above the 200.
So yeah, it's not that crazy to see after you break, the first hardest part is breaking to $1, for example, for Bitcoin, or breaking to first $10. So yeah, it took a year to break from 0 cent to $10 and $1. The next big plan, look how easier it was to break those barriers. So the hardest part is getting the momentum started, and then going from 1 million, I guess 10 million is really, really hard, right? He's saying 2030 we're going to be seeing 10 million. Or I don't see that. I think it works only to a certain point. But going 2028 to 1 million is also going to be super, super hard. And that's why 40% don't agree. But it already hit 100,000. So by his charts, he's basically saying, for psychological levels, 1 million. So it's going to be way easier to hit 100,000 to 200,000, 300,000, especially with governments entering now, and millionaires coming from it. Could it happen in the next 3 years? Who knows? It could happen after a long, long time.
In fact, not go above the 200K line in the next 1.5 year, and that's in fact the bet that the big bet that's underlying this market.
So yeah, XRP, could follow this line because it could literally follow Bitcoin's prices.
ETFs with new regulation.
ETFs would be the big thing.
Declare war on self-custody. So for people in Europe, it's really hard to sell, especially old coins. And so an ETF removes all those barriers because there's no, or very little, know your customer and barriers compared to crypto. So yeah, I think that's behind this relatively flat bull market. So there's a lot of selling of old Bitcoin holders that put this money back in Bitcoin through an ETF or MicroStrategy. So it's a rotation actually, and not much new money. Once that rotation is done, however, and the new money flows in, of course, that's when the price should reflect the scarcity and supply shortage.
Exactly as Plan B is saying, ETFs have become the big thing for people to basically dump their money into XRP, cryptos. You see retail investors coming in and they're hoping that the government enters and basically buys more.
Past, it's also on the charts underneath this model. It's really easy to predict a end of a bear market. The bull market, however, the top is very hard to predict. So there will be a time, it's not now, but there will be a time when the orange or the red dot turns into yellow, into distribution, and that will be followed by a bear market. However, here, if we look at 2018, that was a very clean distribution phase. Red turned to yellow, it ran its course, and then the bear market green, and then another cycle.
So again, we're seeing these cycles, go from time to time. Basically, they're falling exactly as he predicted. The thing is, we have never seen a cycle like that when the government was in. So could this cycle go even better than this? It's not that crazy. Like, nobody believed 100,000 Bitcoin. And then we saw basically these cycles go straight to the moon. And we saw these cycles like with the government entering. And nobody expected the government, US government entering. I feel like this prediction would be different, like 100,000 Bitcoin, and XRP would not be at $3.5 if we did not see Trump in effect. Trump in effect literally probably saved crypto.
So what we see is that all the realized prices are increasing, which is good. And Bitcoin is at 107,000 above all those realized prices. And that's a typical signature of a bull market. You can see it in...
Yeah, so I'm feeling like this 2024 we saw, like this rally, is because the government went from bearish to bullish on crypto. Like literally from regulating it to basically starting to love it. To saying it's going to be the big technology, the next big crypto prices. And that's what makes it strong.
Investable asset in all of human history. Best performing asset of them all. Plan B has been stressing to investors for months that all the factors are beginning to align right now, a period characterized by parabolic moves upwards in crypto prices.
I think that it is appropriate that we are making new highs because the fundamental and the visibility is better now than it was.
This is the new plan, for XRP. This is the new plan to reach it to $5. Basically, we are betting big on the governments to save us at this point.
Making new highs because the fundamental and the visibility is better now than it was in February at the old highs. And I think there's three levers that are going to get pulled. One we know is that the Fed didn't unleash liquidity at the April lows. So we have a Fed that's been on hold and tight. But if the information and the data comes in dovish, that's 12 to 24 months of Fed liquidity. And
exactly what I was saying. Like lots of money is on hold, on pause right now, and the new pumps could be coming in. Again, nobody knows if these pumps are going to be confirmed. Maybe like only a few people in the market know. But that's what's really keeping me hyped.
That hasn't happened yet. The second is that I think that there is a false argument. People are saying the multiples are stretched. The PE should be expanding because we've now had 5 stress tests that companies survived. They survived the bullwhip effect, they survived the inflation surge, they survived the Fed fastest hikes, and now they survived Armageddon. If you don't have 5 more episodes, multiples will be higher 2 years from now. And the third is that I agree with anybody who says that, look, we've kind of reshaped some of the economic flows.
So yeah, U.S. companies passed 5 major stress tests, more tariff, tax, and deregulation stability, Fed more dovish. So if I understand correctly, dovish meaning is opposed to militaristic policies. Okay, so 2026 is going to be less militaristic, which means more like economy based. So maybe like some of that money that they spend so much on basically war budgets, they could put towards crypto, they could put it towards, savings, they could put it so much. Literally, they have a lot of money. The issue is where they spend it. And you can see the markets growing up from that.
They only started to rise really in 2022.
Right, they had a stutter step and then they went up.
If you look at margin debt, NYSE margin debt, the dollar amount absolute is still below where it was in October 2021. So you have like 4 years, it's 4 years and you're still not even higher in margin debt. And third, it really doesn't take, you don't need 60 trillion to come into the stock market to have it rise 10%. You probably need 200 billion. And I think there's a lot of high net worth money. I know there's a lot of our institutional long-short macro.
So Tom Lee is literally saying that a lot of money could be coming into like XRP, stock markets, anything you want.
That is shorting this rally. The long-only managers are defensively positioned. They don't believe in a cyclical long. But look, if rates come down and the Fed starts easing, it's going to force people into a cyclical tilt. Today would have been a day where if it was weak, then the Fed has to change its calculus. But the job market's good. So now the waiting game is, how much will inflation surge over the summer? Inflation expectations.
So they're basically waiting on data before they pump the markets. This is all planned, guys, and this is what I've been telling you. The data is, here. We have the data in front of our hands, but the government is still waiting on the final confirmation before they can open the flood pipes. They want to make sure that they did not cause another recession. Because if they cause another recession, it's going to be bad, right? It's going to probably be a 5-year recession if we do that. We could be following the same scenario as 2008. The markets were good until they were not, right?
Expectations are actually coming down. So now all that we're waiting for is let it get through this CPI hump. I do think it means that once you get into September, we should really think about cuts coming. And that's what I would focus on more as an investor, that, well, that's a cutting cycle. The Fed won't just do one cut. They're going to continue cutting.
So yeah, they're probably going to take a slow and safe approach, and we could be seeing this really growing through past time.
Turns out Bitcoin's risen, but it's kind of churned. I think what happened is a couple things. One is a lot of these ETFs may have been receiving in-kind exchange. So people have their crypto keys, give it to the ETF provider, and then they just stepped up their basis. So that's not going to push up the price of Bitcoin. It adds to their AUM.
a wash.
Yes, it's a wash. And the second is that the ones who...
So he's very right on that. A lot of like these also XRP right now in the future, when the XRP gets added, it might not pump the price it might bump the price indirectly. So they basically have already bought that XRP, and it's a promise that they're still, holding it and can carry your XRP in the ETFs. So it was already bought at probably like $1 or 50 cents or 20 cents. And it's just a guarantee that you have and own some of it that they have bought in the past. So, but the thing is, what's going to happen is you can outbuy an ETF. So you can literally buy more than they have supply. Let's say people buy 10 billion and they only have 5 billion. They got to buy that extra 5 billion for that price. It's not like they can just get it, say, oh, we don't have it. Because that's what happened with FTX, right? They didn't have enough money and they went bankrupt because people tried to withdraw that money, said, hey, where's my money? You took it for me. You took my lunch money. And we are seeing now at a point where crypto institution is finally getting adopted after 5 years.
Aren't involved in ETFs, but maybe they have $10 Bitcoin. We have clients that have bought Bitcoin at $100, and now it's 100,000.
Exactly. That's what can happen again, and going from $100 to 100,000 is not that crazy in that sense. 1 million. 100,000 to 1 million. And XRP, going from $1 to $10. I used to call it crazy when I saw it at 1 cent, 5 cents. I saw it at 5 cents. I thought $1, that's never going to happen. It's going to crash because all these crypto coins in 2018, they were here this week and the next week they were gone. 2018 was more chaotic than it was now. And that tells you something.
They don't care if Bitcoin goes to a million. They are probably sellers at around 100,000. So we're churning the base now.
It's completely crazy to me that people would buy it so easily for 120K and people don't want to sell it for 1 million. People don't want to sell their XRP for 3.5. So, yeah.
Because 95% of the institutional world doesn't own Bitcoin, but a very significant portion of Bitcoin holders are sitting on huge gains. So I think this is the churn that's happening in Bitcoin.
That's what's happening in crypto right now. People are not selling for profit. Literally 100% of people were in profit with XRP and just a small amount sold.
Bitcoin now. But of course, the companies that serve Bitcoin, like Coinbase or Circle, have seen huge growth, and they've been the best IPOs and the best stocks. So it's almost like maybe you won't make money trading Bitcoin, but look at the infrastructure providers. They've been great stocks.
Tom Lee challenges the conventional economic metrics, asserting that these metrics are often manipulated to paint a specific narrative, like labor statistics and inflation figures. The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, Lee asserts this journey is just the beginning, comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs.
Seems like bullish right now, like Ethereum ETFs, XRP ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs, government ETFs, Ethereum treasuries, XRP treasuries. Again, everything is screaming bullish, bullish, bullish. You know, nothing screams like, oh, we're entering a recession. We're literally talking if we are gonna like have a small stop or if we're gonna go full on out and pump crypto. And it means that, you know, right now people are looking into extra gains and extra money that they cannot find anywhere else. You cannot find, you know, 500% gains in stock market. So what this will happen is it will create an influx of young investors, very young investors, maybe 20s, maybe 30s, maybe 19, maybe 18, because they will see the price and life is expensive. That will be the reality. And they will go and buy XRP. They will buy meme coins. They will buy and trade. They will learn trading. They will go in this crypto industry because everything else is expensive. They don't want to work a job for maybe like $1,000, $2,000 per month and barely pay their bills. They want to go all out. They want to go big on crypto. And we're going to be seeing a big institution, you know, selling these cryptos to them. Which who knows when the top is going to be, but it's definitely going to happen. And I still think it's super early. So we are going to be seeing so many more winners in this. So here we have basically very, very important news as well. I'm going to show it to you guys right now. Seems like it just came out. Right now, the market gains are way, way different than we expected. Right. This is the one that I have been wanting to show to you guys. Lynn Alden. She is very rich. And she is becoming the most important like crypto player. And very, 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 very influential and rich person. Again, most of the billionaires in crypto right now are talking and giving this advice for free. So smash that like button if you haven't already. We're going to be watching this one as well. So what does this mean for XRP?
We're competing basically with gold, or smaller countries are competing.
Again, gold, bye-bye gold. Again, gold will never be thrown into the trash. It will always be useful. But the thing about crypto like that is gold might be flipped over and replaced for crypto. You know, it's never going to be thrown in the trash because you're always going to have preppers buying it for a very cheap price. But then you can have a very important factor where XRP might be used for transfers and all this government stuff and identity and what it was, Ledger used for any type of transactions, any type of data. So XRP can also be used for data, which is a very big factor.
With the dollar. And so they're competing with something, if it's gold case, they're competing with something that grows at 2% a year and is really slow. If they're competing with the dollar, they're competing with something that grows at 7% a year, but is pretty fast and usually gives you
Again, people don't want to hold gold anymore. It gives no gains at all. They want to hold something that gives massive gains. Because otherwise you could just hold cash, right? Or you could hold stocks. You can hold treasury bonds from the U.S. government and get 3%, 4% a year, which gives way safer returns than gold. Gold can crash.
Yield that gives
stock like XRP literally gives like that what people are getting in one day. One day people are complaining that XRP only went 7% up today, and gold holders are like, wait, we waited 7% for 2 years. So just let that sink in how important this is.
Use some of that 7% back. Whereas now they're competing with Bitcoin that has zero long-term supply growth and is basically as fast as the dollar. And that's a much harder competition to go against. So I think it to the extent that Bitcoin gets another 10x or notably bigger from here and really kind of eats into fiat currency markets more, it really reduces the ability of all these different entities around the world to capture that scale of seigniorage.
Every economic cycle has a turning point at which the appearance of stability gives way to the brittle reality that lies beneath. People begin to realize that living better does not necessarily equate to working harder. On paper, their earnings may increase, but
that's the issue with real-life jobs now. You work very hard, You work for 30 years, and what do you get? Like, nothing and nothing back. That's the issue I'm seeing. Held gold since 2017. Now I sell my Bitcoin to buy more gold. So safety, even if hedge funds are selling gold. Gold can be really used for like a black swan event if the world is over. They can always use gold, which is not bad. But, kids right now, they want fast profit, and that's completely fine. And seeing like these jobs paying minimal wages and requiring you to go to two colleges, that's why right now crypto is the best breadwinner.
Harder. On paper, their earnings may increase, but each paycheck provides less stability, less energy, and less food. Lynn Alden, a monetary expert, cautions that this is not...
When I think about black swan event, it could be, for example, FTX. It doesn't crash crypto to zero, but it basically gives the stock market like minus 80%. Again, crypto markets recovered. There's never happened that Bitcoin would go to zero. But there was always like Mt. Gox that crashed, that really gave crypto a downside for a few years. But the good thing about crypto is it will always recover. We saw this with the stock markets. The markets always recover. Exactly. That's a very good point. Like, these cryptocurrencies always recover and go up because there's always more money supply in the world.
Not a temporary situation. The biggest economies in the world are accruing deficits so great that the only realistic way to move forward is through financial repression, which involves measures that purposefully keep interest rates below inflation and gradually deplete savers in order to repay borrowers. People believed there was no other option, so they tolerated this hidden cost for decades. Although gold provided some protection, it was still restricted to vaults and exchange-traded funds and was not linked to the rapidity of contemporary trade. But the landscape is shifting now. Outside of the established system, Bitcoin has become a digital property that is scarce and immune to political devaluation. Bitcoin is more than...
The issue I have with gold, my biggest issue is I'm very social type media person. I feel like social media is the biggest factor for attention. Attention is the biggest currency you can have. You can only have your mind at one place at a time, right? That's why I really appreciate all my viewers, because they are watching my channel, they're liking my videos. It's a very valuable asset. And when you have gold, you have small communities, but you don't have anything like Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, all these communities that built up for years and can talk about being owners of the cryptos. You can talk about owning gold, but it's not the same. You cannot meet up. You can potentially meet up in person, but I feel like it's used mostly by older generation, people who want to preserve their wealth, people who don't expect, 100%, 300% gains. But I think those 300, 400, 500% gains from top really do add up. They really do add up, and they bring more communities. And with gold, you cannot send $2 to another person. Can you send $2 you can send $2 in crypto to another person? Say, hey, you're now a holder. Join our community. I will send you $1 if you join XRP. I will send you $1 if you join Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever it is. These meme coins, I will send you $20 for free. And you can, even in dating, for example, potentially you can pay someone, $20 to go out with you, or I'm guessing like $20 to eat in a restaurant. You can't pay with the gold. You have to sell the gold first. So these crypto cards and everything like that, it's adding real life utility. So who knows? I'm just making an example with the dating stuff, but it was a really stupid one. So this is the people saying buying oil is pure speculation. Again,
just
yeah,
a speculative
I agree.
investment. For more information about cryptocurrencies and the digital asset world, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications if you like this kind of content. Additionally, please feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video.
When you look at the impacts of inflation in the chapter in your book, it's a lot more than just economics. So what all do you try to look at in terms of inflation and its adverse impacts?
One is to kind of break it up and kind of point out what it is. So a lot of people, of course, think of price inflation.
Yeah.
I prefer to think of dilution, which is, for example, if you're holding a fiat currency, developed market fiat currencies historically grow in supply by about 7% per year on average. And so even if you're getting a yield, if you're getting, say, 3% or 4%, but you're getting diluted by units by 7%, your share of the network is shrinking.
Yeah.
And then you can think of that as other things. Like, for example, if you own a stock, are you getting diluted, or are you getting or some of them buying back their own stock and you're holding up well? So it's often best to think of it in terms of being diluted.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of foundation, inflation, if you look at, say, over time, money supply is growing up by 7% a year, but we are getting, say, every year we're getting usually 2, 3, 4% more productive, more efficient at making things. We see this most readily in electronics.
Yeah.
We see it less so in gold or energy or something like that, like more tangible home building. So there's a spectrum there. And so the other element of that is that basically inflation's a spectrum. And so there are some things that are close to pretty scarce. And so they actually tend to go up in price roughly in line with money supply growth. And that includes fine art, that includes waterfront property. Sometimes things can go even up faster than money supply growth if you happen to, for example, predict years or decades ahead of time which population center is going to boom.
I think that's going to be really hard to predict anyway. Like that's the hard part. It's easy to say that, but you need tons and tons of data. And I feel like some of these big companies are doing that already.
Going down. So even some inflation just gets us back up to zero, let alone positive inflation, which we all experience.
Popular in Bitcoin circles to talk about fiat culture and all of these things. Like, do you think there is a connection between monetary inflation and, let's say, less purely economic phenomenon?
I think there are, because it hurts productivity, and one way to quantify this is, in addition, like a lot of people focus on savings being eroded, which is valid, but it's also every single contract in society gets impacted by inflation. Like, imagine if you could push a button and every contract in the entire country gets shifted in one party's favor. That's what inflation does. So if I was running a business making widgets and you're in a retail business that buys my widgets, we don't want to figure out every day how many I'm going to sell you and at what price. You're going to try to make a contract with me that maybe is 6 months or 12 months. And in a stable price environment, we have good foresight into what kind of pricing we're going to do. And but in a highly inflationary environment, we have to now make shorter agreements and remake those more regularly, because neither of us knows what the money's going to be worth in a month.
I guess they're trying to make predictions on what the dollars are going to be worth or not. But yeah, everything is inflationary. Everything we have more supply of food right now than we ever had before 50 years ago. We have more supply of money. We have more supply of cash, rents, apartments. Everything is becoming more abundant. But the point she missed is there is more people in the world as well. So, as inflation gets higher, as money gets printed more on out, there's also more people that have a demand for this, that need the money, that need the jobs. The market is more booming, but this also means there's more opportunities in this world, that there's more people entering the markets. So yeah, this is the cool stuff.
The 3 months. So
Good
we have
night.
to now do more administrative overhead. Because money is inflating faster. And then that's true for also every single wage earner. Every single wage earner or salary worker is a contract with a company to earn a certain amount per unit of time or unit of work, whatever the case may be. And the government...
Yeah, so the government does not account for inflation. Like a lot of jobs, they just give you the same amount of money for 4 years. And then it's kind of for you to figure out where you want to go with this money, right? So the inflation only counts like 2%, 3% a year. And then the inflation is suddenly like, we are not seeing 2-3% a year inflation, guys. What I saw was 20% inflation. What I saw is I go buy a sandwich and it's suddenly like $40. Or it's suddenly like $5, $6. Like, when was that possible? You could get a sandwich for $2 months ago. And then the job tells you have to figure it out, right? You have to figure out how to make the investments work, post-tax anyway. So it's a bit silly, isn't it? So right now, what we are trying to figure out is how we can actually, beat this inflation on this channel. We're trying to figure out how we can destroy this inflation and actually make the money possible.
Is able to kind of shift that contract. And so that, I think, has really big implications. And I use Egypt as an example because I lived there for part of each year. Their money supply is growing at 20 to 30% per year.
So again, do you think that the salaries decrease 20 to 30% per year? Absolutely not. And a lot of these people have a lot of trouble later on. That's why some people put all their life savings into Bitcoin, and it went pretty well for them. Again, it was mostly also based on luck and other people buying in, but sometimes you need this luck in this current markets.
And so if you're operating in that environment, you're earning a wage, you're a small business, and I know wage earners and small business owners there, and I ask them, like, are you getting a 20% raise every year? Are you raising your...
It's so funny, these billionaires are talking exactly the stuff I said. And I didn't watch this video beforehand, so it's the experience I have accumulated over some time. But again, they probably know way more stuff than me. The thing I do know about is right now how the current economy is for people.
of inflation besides price increases. It is a more profound issue that warps society's fundamental structure. In a fiat economy where governments can produce as much money as they like, inflation reduces the value of money itself, as Lynn Alden explains. The money supply functions as a hidden tax when it expands more quickly than the productivity of the economy. However, inflation's harm extends much beyond individual financial matters. Long-term planning is nearly
inflation can ruin lives.
Impossible. Companies are forced to reduce contracts and renegotiate frequently, and institutional trust is...
This is something XRP could fix, by the way. They forgot that. I feel like XRP can just add contracts on the ledger. So if they add contracts on the ledger to increase for inflation 5% a year, they could literally write that down.
Weakened. It transfers authority from those who add actual value to those in charge of the money printers. Gold was long thought to be the only defense against this. However, gold is sluggish, needs to be moved or stored by banks, and is still dependent on manipulable processes. However, something new is starting to emerge today. Bitcoin. It can't be printed indefinitely like fiat money can. It is digital, quick, and independent of governments and banks, unlike gold. Bitcoin isn't just another store of value. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, crypto
catch on, it has to go through the massive network effect. It's up against the $100 trillion network effect of the dollar, the multi-$100 trillion network effect of fiat currencies globally, the whole global bond market, and all the governments tied to it. So this little open source thing is kind of doing this multi-decade path through this very entrenched system. It's gradually succeeding. It has things to navigate. It had to, navigate big countries trying to ban it, and then figuring out they kind of can't ban it, and politicians realizing that there's nothing to gain really from donors or anyone else, from voters, for being anti-Bitcoin, but there is a lot to gain from being pro-Bitcoin. And so
again, this is also like a political move, right, for the government to be pro-Bitcoin. 55 million crypto buyers. So when you have 55 million potential crypto buyers, that's 55 million potential voters for your next campaign. So just let that sink in. If you have that many buyers in, if you hate Bitcoin, if you say you hate Bitcoin, nobody's going to say, oh, I love you for it, right? Everybody's going to kind of expect for you for that. Or if you hate XRP. But if you say, I love XRP, I want to pump XRP. If you say that as a government, you immediately gain 5 million followers. Because why? They're invested in XRP and they're seeing you're backing it out. And then you get potential new followers just because you said that, because you're, this authority of trust, such as the government.
Kind of going through that game theory over time. There's a couple countries that are ahead of the curve and say, well, if other countries are going to be slow and even anti, we're going to be the ones that embrace it.
Exactly what countries should be doing, right?
It still has to go through some challenges, like, if we do have, quantum computers, it's got to be able to make that change, and that has implications for signature types and potentially even block size issues with the length of those new signature types. So it has to navigate still, I think, some challenges ahead, but it's by far the best chance we have, and it's something that it's kind of fundamental. Like even if
is the best chance at being independent and fully going for it. It actually giving you a chance in life. That's what I believe in. That's what XRP is. It's basically giving people a second chance in life.
Society were to rerun this whole modernization period multiple times, kind of like how the bicycle would always come before the car, would always come before the airplane, because basically you kind of have the predecessor stuff kind of built into it.
Yeah.
We always would have Morse code before we have something like Bitcoin.
Sure.
And Morse code could be called different. It could have a different alphabet equivalent, but it still is basically Morse code. Right. Kind of like how Bitcoin wouldn't necessarily have the exact parameters it has now, but something like Bitcoin, if you get to this period, would eventually emerge. And I think it we want it to succeed on the first try rather than have to kind of start this project all over again. Yeah. If you look at some of those older European maps, they'd be a lot more fractured than what it kind of consolidated into. And I think to some extent that kind of can reemerge in the sense that while governments will, in most cases, in most regions, still exist in various capacities, they have less of just a full control over everything. Like, for example, the full banking system is...
Again, they're not working against it now. They see the potential of technology. Before they were hating the technology, they were saying, oh, but there's so many issues with it. And now they're seeing, the prices going up. They're seeing prices improving. They're seeing, whoa, this is actually a pretty big thing. Wow, maybe we shouldn't ignore it. Maybe we shouldn't hate it. Maybe we should use and check what potential there is. And that's where people really win, right?
Is currently under every country's control. Yeah. They can go around that. and they have a much harder prospect of raising capital. Because again, if like Egyptians, going back to that point, 20 to 30% money supply growth is happening, and there's very few ways to opt out of it other than power users getting into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And even people that have gold stashed away, they still have bank accounts. There's always still some like residual stuff being just kind of opaquely taken from them by this seigniorage, this debasement. Yeah. And so it really just kind of closes the window of all these different issuers around the world for how much seigniorage they can get away with, because they're competing with before they were competing basically with gold, or smaller countries are competing with the dollar. And so they're competing with something. If it's gold case, they're competing with something that grows at 2% a year and is really slow.
Again, that's a very good point and a very smart, person, because why would you get gold? It literally makes no sense, right? And again, if there's any gold in, people in the comments, let me know, because right now, would you rather hold something, that's not the US dollar and gives you way better returns?
If they're competing with the dollar, they're competing with something that grows at 7% a year, but is pretty fast and usually gives you a yield.
That's why people buy gold, is in a case that the crypto markets go down. So in case like the money is gone forever, or money and crypto, and the government does not exist anymore, they're basing on the prepper thing that the gold could be basically going up in that case. Like preppers are very bullish on gold because they're saying it's a currency. But why is it going to be gold? Well, why would it not be, for example, bullets? Why would it not be, for example, food or maybe silver? Is there something else that can be used as currency? Like that is the thing in terms of like an event where the apocalypse ends. And I think it's a pretty possible scenario. It's not like such a small chance that there's going to be post-apocalyptic world. That's why billionaires are building this stuff. But the most important factor is to ask yourself, can we actually in crypto, can XRP be used in post-apocalypse? Maybe there's going to be like a server. So it completely invalidates, gold that's been here for 5,000 years.
That gives you some of that 7% back. Whereas now they're competing with Bitcoin that has zero long-term supply growth and is basically as fast.
And people can mine more gold. That's the issue. You can mine more gold and you can find more of it. Bam, you lose everything, right? You lose all the supply.
Fast as the dollar. And that's a much harder competition to go against. So I think it to the extent that Bitcoin gets another 10x or notably bigger from here and really kind of eats into fiat currency markets more, it really reduces the ability of all these different entities around the world to capture that scale of seigniorage.
Does Bitcoin make government local again? Is that the direction we're headed?
It might. I think that the more conservative thing I would say is that it makes it more transparent in the sense that there might still be communities that want more government or want less government.
Yeah.
But at least they generally know what they're getting into. It's like they're saying, like, part of why we run, my talk here was called Nothing Stops This Train. I was talking about the fiscal deficits. It's because we can't agree on how we're going to balance things. So this error just keeps spilling out.
This is why XRP, is owned by the government, because it basically builds communities. It's the new community builder. Crypto is building more communities. It's like when you go to like a meetup. So when you invest in a coin, for a lot of people, it's like a meetup. When you buy Bitcoin, it's like going to this big meetup event, and people are getting more and more lonely in this world. So this is another point. When people get lonely, what do they want to do? They want to hang out with other people when they have no friends, because we are seeing social media getting us more lonely. We're seeing, COVID made us completely isolated. So people go ahead, buy their coins, and they can say, hey, let's meet up. We both own this coin. Let's make, investment strategies for XRP. Again, it's a very sad factor, but it's the truth. Right now, community building is much, much more valuable than in gold.
According to Lynn Alden, Bitcoin has the potential to fundamentally alter the way that money functions in society because they have authority over the production and movement of money. Governments and central banks currently wield the majority of power. Without having to publicly raise taxes, they can steal value from people's salaries and savings through devaluation of the currency and inflation. This structure has been in place for many generations and has influenced. She also admits that.
So I think the biggest thing with Bitcoin right now is just like an alternative payment method, right? Yes, you can use like cards and stuff like that, but I think people like to use alternative payment methods that are potentially crypto, which can also raise in price. There is some technology I see behind Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin, and that's what really gives it like lots of value. Again, that's how gold started. What was 5,000 years ago? What was the value of gold? Not much, but then it became materials. You could buy sheep with it. You could use it for transactions. Literally, they started making gold coins after as a transaction. So again, just like Bitcoin, which started only 13 years ago, or might have been a bit more now, actually 16 years. So this is the difference. Now we're seeing the same pattern Bitcoin is following. It's gonna be here to stay. 20 years after, gonna be here to stay. So, very important factors that you gotta know is
your money supply.
Crypto is gonna definitely explode at this point in the next 20, 30 years. Generational wealth. Again, not financial advice, but from the looks of it, I'm definitely very bullish if this could happen. But who knows where crypto could go from here, right? We already saw XRP at 3.5.
Price target's 200 because I see the demand, and I'm making an assumption that the political
Anti-Scaramucci is the most important bull market update for every XRP or Bitcoin investor, Ethereum investor. We have been seeing crypto going up in a very good way, but these billionaires are just dropping us advice for free. So smash that like button if you haven't already, and welcome everyone. Welcome.
Landscape calms down. But if you get a couple of things going right, it could easily go to 250. There's no supply for this.
Like exactly what people are saying. Like before Bitcoin 100,000 was impossible. XRP 500 was $5 was impossible. But we are seeing it grow daily.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you something. There's people that need to buy this. There's sovereigns that need to own this, and there's no supply. So what's happening right now is you're getting a little bit of a churn here because of the political volatility and the macro volatility and the lack.
Again, I think that the governments right now have been super bullish on XRP. Like there's been no huge vitality.
Foreseeability on rates. You pass the big, beautiful spending bill, you're going to add $3.1 trillion of deficit spending in the U.S. over the next 10 years. That's called print, baby, print. It's not drill, baby, drill. It's print. So how is it possible that Bitcoin's not going to go to 200? So just said differently, 200 is a $4 trillion valuation, market capitalization for something I think is an asset class. That's what, 2 Amazons? Yeah. Bitcoin's going to be worth 2 Amazons when the U.S. government's printing like that. I think it's very cheap.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Right now, Bitcoin is the 7th biggest in valuation. The crypto market cap is growing bigger and bigger. I think it's actually cryptocurrencies that are 4 trillion market cap. So once we get 10 trillion, 5 trillion, XRP will be actually following to Bitcoin's like a baby brother, and that's what gives it massive potential.
So yeah, I think it's 200.
Scaramucci begins with a direct reminder of our true situation. Bitcoin has an engaged community and makes a lot of headlines, but its actual use is still extremely limited. He says, you believe you are the movement, but the reality is that most people still don't understand how Bitcoin works or why it matters. He notes that
that's the biggest issue I have been seeing. Most people still don't realize the importance of XRP, what a ledger is, how does it work, how does it operate. And once, people even realize that, it just makes me realize how early we are in crypto. If people don't realize what an XRP ledger is and how it's used for transactions, but most people buy a ledger, and that's completely fine. That is what I'm trying to teach people.
Mindset of the older generations who still hold the majority of the world's wealth is the largest barrier, not technology. These are the elderly people and boomers who continue to look up to
Yeah, so usually it's like Gen Z learning about what crypto exactly is.
Traditional heavyweights like Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett, 2 of the most well-known doubters of Bitcoin. According to Scaramucci, Bitcoin's next goal is to win them over. The upside is unlike anything we've seen so far if that occurs. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel.
My generation, my demographic, they still, and I repeat, they still don't understand it. My generation, my demographic is still, followers of Jamie Dimon and followers of Warren Buffett.
Sure. But the good thing is, even if they're like older generation, they don't believe in crypto. They believe, they don't know how to use a computer. This gives a plenty of opportunity for new investors in the crypto space.
And so just imagine if we can penetrate that group of people. Just imagine if we can open them up to the idea of Bitcoin. Now, Larry, of course, what a great story. 2021, I hate Bitcoin. I'm going to make an investment in Circle. Of course, he's done very well with his Circle investment. And then he pivots. So think about the neuroplasticity that you need. I'm told Bitcoin is rat poison. I'm told it's a decentralized pond.
Again, this is the thing we've been hearing with XRP. It's never going to get it's always going to be regulated. It's a security. We've been hearing that in 2017, 2018, 2019. We were hearing that for ages. Again, that's what I was hearing. I think a lot of XRP holders have cashed out, which is completely fine. But we are hearing this again and again.
Point to when it happened. When Silicon Valley Bank cratered 2 years ago, Bitcoin popped. Everybody was like, whoa, why is Bitcoin popping? Bitcoin's popping because people realize...
This was my biggest regret, not getting XRP and not making crypto videos for 3.5 years. 3.5 years because people have told me that crypto is going to die and it's never going to come back. Can you imagine that? And that made me 3.5 years enter a deep depression, which is something that I will never forget and something that I will now, try to amend and fix for the next 3.5 years and 5 years in the future.
That the fractional banking system is less sturdy than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of... Okay. We torched Bitcoin. We had Gary Gensler. We had Elizabeth Warren.
Exactly what I'm telling you. It wasn't even Gary Gensler that was telling me that. It would be probably better if Gary Gensler was telling me that because I would fact check. It was my friends, and that's the big thing.
We had Joe Biden.
But yeah, it was the government that was telling other people.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, it's like, I can't remember the name of that law, but the longer it lasts, the more durable it is, or some kind of...
So they wanted to regulate and tax crypto, and now the government that changed wants to go full 180 on crypto.
Is that the Lindy effect?
Lindy effect. The Lindy effect. That's what it's called. Yeah, the Lindy effect.
Scaramucci makes a compelling argument about who is in charge. Currently, just a handful of powerful individuals control the financial system, including governments, large enterprises, and important organizations. They control access and the flow of funds. Bitcoin, however, changes that. It creates an even playing field. It restores authority to common people, particularly those who have been excluded, such as the underprivileged and unbanked. Scaramucci cautions that history has shown us what happens if we don't strive toward inclusive systems. Those in power will eventually be overthrown by the masses who have been kept down.
Yeah, so they kept buying even when the banks were regulating everything. People kept buying, like respect to that, 2022, 2023.
Throughout human history, this pattern has recurred. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications.
So add to it.
Yeah.
You got to wake up. Okay, I did something really smart at 18, and that... it was very hard to do, but I did it every month. I took a little bit of my money and I bought the U.S. stock market. I read Burton Malkiel's book, Random Walk on Wall Street, and I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to pick the winners and losers. I'm going to buy $100 of the S&P 500 in a mutual fund.
And yeah, exactly that's what people did with the XRP. They bought it at 20 cents.
And they eventually became ETFs, but I'm going to do this. Every day, I'm going to save a little bit of money, and I'm going to do this.
So yeah, he's basically saying, Anthony Scaramucci, which is a billionaire, is you cannot stop the power of XRP. You cannot stop the people that want to go all in on it. I think that's the most important point, is the power of the community will always beat out, even if you're getting regulated, if you're getting hurt by the SEC, later on, people will join you. BlackRock joined us, the Ripple community, and a lot of other cryptos, got the backing. A lot of other partnerships, a lot of other exchanges came back. When Ripple was at its lowest price point, nobody believed. But now that it's its highest, everybody's coming back and saying, hey, we can still be friends, right?
President and said we have to make this bipartisan. So if you read the executive order, they're not going to use U.S. dollars to buy it or tax revenues to buy it. They're buying it from different things, or if they take it off of like a Silk Road transaction, they'll keep it. But I think it's very important because we have 28 things in our reserves right now, including petroleum and gold. We have medical equipment. We have rare earth minerals, all different types of things.
So basically, U.S. government is holding some of the stocks and, different stuff in case of a bad event. Even medical equipment, I'm guessing like medicine and stuff like that, they are going to be holding some crypto as well, which is pretty good. Like in terms of a bad event, they're going to be like, okay, we can't pay out salaries, but we can pay out in Bitcoin. And literally they hold 200 billion in Bitcoin to pay people in case of this bad emergency, in case Bitcoin is still going to be 3 million, but the stock market crashes or goes offline. they can still pay out in Bitcoin. And I think that's a big thing that people aren't talking about, is how important the government is thinking straightforward.
Our reserve, and every one of those things is nonpartisan. Meaning, if Jesse, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, we're not arguing about whether or not we need gold or oil in our reserve. We both know that we do. For some reason, Bitcoin was politically polarized, primarily, it's, we don't have the time to go into it, but primarily by Warren and Gensler. And so we need to reduce the polarization of it. This is why that stablecoin legislation, I like, it was like, I don't know, 68-33 maybe, was it? I think that's what it was, okay, right?
So yeah, they're literally changing all of the things that, government was doing. They're changing XRP now forever. They're changing what XRP is, and they're changing it for better through regulation, everything that was destroyed before.
What I would say to you is, let's let it become bipartisan. Let's let a couple of election cycles go.
So this big bill will basically make crypto, not on any political side. It was used for political power in that sense, right? To change the price.
They are actually still a small bunch. The majority of people still don't grasp Bitcoin, particularly those in his generation. They still have faith in established financial figures like Warren Buffett and Jamie Dimon, who are both well-known detractors of Bitcoin. People realize that Bitcoin...
Again, there's a lot of people that are going to be against Bitcoin, and, the government was against Bitcoin as well, but I feel like when I see people talk about it, more and more are getting pro-Bitcoin. Like, I meet people around the world who are more pro-Bitcoin than, against Bitcoin, and we're seeing that a lot. So, yeah, definitely smash that like button. I will keep you guys updated with more news. If you guys want, I have uploaded some videos on my channel that you guys should check out, which would be really, really fantastic. Again, it's been a pretty 4-hour nice stream. I'm going to get some rest, and love you all. Take care. Thank you so much for the support, everyone. Again, it's 6 a.m. for me in the morning. 6 a.m. by the way. Lol. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, and love you all. See you tomorrow, okay? Live streams every day on this channel if you're new. If you maybe caught me at a bad time.